Blue Planet, Jiangxing Number 1 High School, Martial Arts Class 3. What do you want? I want several cute young girls, one with beast ears, some petite ones, and more sweet, natured young girls. That will land you in quite a bit of trouble, sir. I know. Also, give me a tall, elegant young woman of that height to give my nape a soft massage. Yeah, you sure do dream big. Chen-Yi, wake up. A crisp, icy voice exploded beside Chen-Yi's ear. Who? Chen-Yi jolted all over and jerked his head up. A tall young woman in black tights stood right before him, looking down at him. Su Qingwan glared, a ruler held in her hand. A powerful sense of pressure rolled off her, silencing everyone nearby. Every gaze in the classroom instantly locked onto Chen-Yi. TCH, that good for, nothing is asleep again. He's the only one bold enough to doze off in Instructor Su's class. The rest of us would have gotten struck by the ruler already. He's a spirit, leaking wasted body. No matter how hard he trains, his vital blood stays at 0. There's hardly any point in him studying. It's easy just muddling through each day. He'll pay for slacking off later. Two girls sitting diagonally behind him whispered, casting disdain glances toward Chen-Yi. He was out in the doing wild sets of push-ups on the playground yesterday, even in the heavy rain. Really? That's quite something. Chen-Yi snapped fully awake. He quickly wiped the drool from his chin, sat bolt upright, and grinned at her. I'm awake now, teacher. I won't sleep anymore, promise. Su Qingwan stared at Chen-Yi for a long moment, then snorted coldly. Don't let me catch you sleeping again. Otherwise, report to my office after class, and I'll give you a thorough lesson. Yes. Knowing well not to antagonize someone offering no hostility, Chen-Yi hastily gave his guarantee. Let's resume the lesson. She walked back to the podium. Chen-Yi relaxed, rubbed his eyes, and let out a long breath. Memories flooded his mind. He had transmigrated to this world half a month ago. This world was called Blue Planet, a realm where martial arts reigned supreme. Mighty warriors could soar through the sky, churn seas and rivers, and shatter stars with a single wave of their hand. Some had even left Blue Planet, wandering among countless cosmic races, forging new colonies, and building the human federation. After thousands of years of development, a universal martial arts system governed society. To nurture new talent, every legal citizen of the Federation who turned 18 had to take part in the unified acupoint opening ceremony. 180 innate acupoints lay dormant within the human body, forming the foundation for cultivating vital blood. One's talent was measured by how many acupoints one unlocked. Fewer than 10 opened acupoints marked a mediocre mortal-grade physique, with little hope of great achievement in one's lifetime. 30 or more opened acupoints counted as passable, granting one the ability to properly cultivate and attend major martial arts high schools. 80 or more opened acupoints marked a genius, sought after by powerful city clans and martial arts academies. Breaking past 120 opened acupoints meant a once-in-a-100 years prodigy, eligible for admission to the New Star Martial Arts Academy. 180 fully opened acupoints represented the peerless, innate, complete Tao body, destined to become a martial saint. And Chen-Yi, his potential rivaled two martial saints. Every time he thought of it, the corners of Chen-Yi's mouth twitched. Ordinary humans peaked at 180 acupoints, yet he had unlocked 360. At first, Chen-Yi, the transmigrator, had been overjoyed. He had already pictured himself living the classic overpowered protagonist life, beating martial saints and trampling martial emperors. But reality dealt him a harsh blow. 360 acupoints, and he could not cultivate it all. When he learned the truth, Chen-Yi was dumbfounded. Acupoints possessed two sides, yin and yang. Unlocking yang acupoints allowed one to connect with heaven and earth, refine vital blood, and temper flesh and bone. But when yin acupoints also opened, it was like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Every bit of vital blood he cultivated leaked right back out. Chen-Yi's acupoint opening ceremony had been spectacular. A martial king had even personally descended to infuse his blood energy to assist him. As the martial king poured forth surging vital blood waves, one luminous acupoint mark lit after another. 100, 200, 300. 360 streaks of light shot toward the sky, dyeing the entire sky gold red. Silence fell over the crowd before thunderous cheers erupted. The principal of No. 1 high school wept tears of joy, declaring that Jiangxing would birth a true dragon. Yet that euphoria lasted less than half a minute. The martial king channeled his immense vital blood into Chen-Yi's body to stabilize his foundation. No matter how much vital blood flowed into his meridians, it leaked away instantly. Not a single wisp retained. The martial king's expression darkened. He repeated the test 3 times. At last, he frowned deeply and sighed, shattering Chun Yi's dreams with a single sentence. Both yin and yang acupoints opened. Born with a spirit, leaking wasted body. No matter how many acupoints you possess, you cannot retain the slightest vital blood. You are fated to walk no path in martial arts. 12 years of arduous training, only to learn martial arts were forever out of reach. Most people would have crumpled, screaming in grief. But Chun Yi was different. He was a transmigrator. He arrived in this world with a golden finger ability. His physical strength would multiply by its own value every 10 days. As a former science student, Chun Yi understood exactly what that meant. He had, even day, dreamed of unimaginable power. But then came another piece of terrible news. His baseline strength stat stood at merely 0.9. The first 10-day multiplication cycle turned 0.9 directly into 0.81. Chun Yi was utterly alarmed. If this trend kept up, he might end up weaker than a newborn infant. Unable to store vital blood, he could only rely on brutal physical training, pushing himself non-stop. 10 days remained until his next power growth cycle. Within those 10 days, he had to raise his strength to at least 1 to survive safely. Thus he threw himself into relentless training. He trained while eating, trained while resting, trained even while using the restroom. Everyone around him thought he had lost his mind from despair. Chun Yi, stand up and answer this question. The voice pulled Chun Yi from his thoughts. He looked up blankly and rose to his feet. Standing on the podium, Su Qingwan spoke. Tell me, what is the minimum vital blood threshold for an ordinary person to break through to rank 1 martial warrior? Chun Yi scratched his head and answered honestly. To put it plainly and straightforwardly, I don't know. Su Qingwan. She froze, tightening her grip on the ruler, filled with exasperation. This is foundational martial arts theory. You are the only student in the whole class who cannot answer it. Chun Yi, tell me, other than sleeping, what do you do in my class? Chun Yi replied. I also listen carefully to your lectures. Uft. Someone in the class could not hold back their laughter. In the next instant, Su Qingwan shot them a sharp glare, silencing them. What? She laughed out of anger. Chun Yi, get out and stand in the hallway. Don't leave after school. Report to my office. Chun Yi stepped out of the classroom with practiced ease and walked into the corridor. These past few days he had frequently angered his homeroom teacher Su Qingwan, spending large portions of class time outside. Yet he did not idle once outside. He dropped into a push-up stance and began furiously doing push-ups. He hummed a tune to keep his motivation high. He just needed to hit that critical number. Even reaching 1.1 would give him a solid foothold in this world. 1 hour later, ring-a-ling. The dismissal bell rang. 298, 299, 300. Chun Yi finished his final set. Sweat streamed down his cheeks to his chin, dripping onto the tile floor to form a small wet patch. He exhaled heavily and collapsed onto the ground, gasping. Open status panel. A deep, blue translucent panel unfolded before his eyes. Name, Chun Yi, bone age, 18, vital blood, 0, strength, 0.810. 82. Note, average human strength equals 1, average human vital blood equals 10, overall combat power, 0.5, evaluation, weaker than an average street dweller. Chun Yi's face darkened. 300 push-ups, nearly draining all his stamina, and he had only gained 0.01 strength. At this rate, he would need at least 20 days to raise his strength to 1 to stop growing weaker. But he could not afford to wait 20 days. I have to ramp up my training volume. Chun Yi resolved inwardly. Hey, isn't this our hard-working guy? Training away again. The classroom door swung open, and a mocking voice echoed out. A young man dressed in flashy casual clothes sauntered out. This was Zhao Kuan, son of the director of Jiangxing Thunder Martial Dojo. He and Chun Yi had never gotten along. Chun Yi was not born into poverty. He was an illegitimate son of the current head of the Chun clan, a major martial arts household in Jiangxing. Years ago, the Chun clan patriarch had roamed abroad. While fending off monster beasts, he saved a woman, Chun Yi's birth mother. Though cliché, the hero, saving the maiden trope bore real fruit. The two fell in love and had a son, Chun Yi. Unfortunately, the clan had already had an official wife. The former clan patriarch forced them apart, and the pair separated. Chun Yi's mother passed away from sorrow. Burdened by guilt, his father brought Chun Yi back to be raised within the Chun household. The Chun clan and Thunder Martial Dojo were long-time rivals, So friction constantly arose between their younger generations. Mind your own business. Leave me alone, Chun-Yi said, not even bothering to glance at him. Zhao Kun chuckled, unoffended. He raised his voice on purpose, drawing the attention of many passing students in the corridor. You train so hard, yet what good does it do? You are a waste. You're vital. Blood will always stay zero. His followers immediately chimed in. You're only still enrolled because you're from the Qin clan. Heard the young lady of the Lin family intends to break off your engagement. Some people still delude themselves that they can turn things around. Zhao Kun tapped the wet patch on the tile before Chun-Yi's feet with his shoe, his gaze scornful. Chun-Yi, take my advice. Stop torturing yourself in futile effort. Accept your fate and stop disgracing yourself at school. If you have so much free time, go find manual labor work instead of dragging down the martial arts class. Chun-Yi rolled his eyes. He turned to leave. Chun-Yi, if you are any sort of man, fight me openly in the practical combat class coming up. Zhao Kun shouted. If you cower like a turtle, what will that say about the Chun clan's honor? Do you even deserve to be part of the Chun household? He baited Chun-Yi with provocation. Chun-Yi kept walking without looking back. He knew Zhao Kun's motive. The boy wanted to humiliate the Chun clan through him, most likely on the orders of his father Zhao Wuji. The old Chun-Yi would have taken the bait. At 18, boys burned with youthful pride and hated backing down from challenges. But Chun-Yi knew full well that picking a fight he could not win would only make him a fool. Let Zhao Kun enjoy his petty triumph for now. Once Chun-Yi's power bloomed, he would beat Zhao Kun thoroughly. Boss, he won't take the bait. What should we do? One of Zhao Kun's lackeys asked, looking troubled. Zhao Kun dropped his mocking grin and stared coldly at Chun-Yi's retreating figure. Humph. No rush. He's a broken man now. He cannot rise again. Many people in Jiangcheng are watching the Qin clan. The old clan patriarch is nearing his end, and the Chun clan is a fat prize for whoever seizes it. Jiangcheng No. 1 High School Martial Training Ground. This was practical combat class, where students learned combat techniques and sparred with one another, one of the most important courses in the curriculum. Their practical combat instructor was a bald-headed man named Wang Gang. He stood straight with hands clasped behind his back, his muscles glinting bronze, toned under the blazing sun. Attention! At ease! Rows of students quickly assembled, standing tall. Wang Gang was famously a harsh instructor. A former bounty hunter who had seen real combat, he enforced brutal training standards. Wang Gang swept his gaze across the assembled class, his deep voice booming. Today for practical combat class, we start with physical conditioning. Everyone, run 10 laps around the outer perimeter, 10 kilometers total. Finish within 20 minutes. Anyone who fails the time limit runs an extra 2 kilometers after class. Groans erupted through the ranks. Come on, Teacher Wang. 10 kilometers in 20 minutes? We've only just opened our acupoints. Our vital blood reserves are limited. What's with this brutal training all of a sudden? Whines and complaints filled the air, many students slumping their shoulders in despair. Wang Gang barely lifted his eyelids. After finishing the 10-kilometer run, no rest. Immediately commence strength drills. 3 sets of 100 standard push-ups, any sloppy form, and you redo the whole set. Another 300 push-ups? We might as well go straight to the infirmary. Our legs will give out after the run. We won't have strength left for push-ups. Someone muttered quietly. Instructor Su is so much nicer, pretty, and not nearly so strict. Unlike this bald guy, who kicks people left and right. Wang Gang let out a heavy snort. Quiet. In martial arts, the physical body is your foundation. If you cannot endure this training, how will you survive when you face monster beasts in the future? I know some of you grow arrogant, thinking opening many acupoints makes you invincible. Talent will not forge rock, hard muscle. Without hard-earned training, you are still good for nothing in my eyes. Even worse than that spirit, leaking wasted body back there. Chun-Yi, great. Why drag me into this? What did I ever do to him? At the mention of Chun-Yi, the whole class fell silent. No one wanted to be compared to the so-called waste. Wang Gang blew sharply on his whistle. Time starts now. Everyone move out. Burning sunlight beat down on the running track, hot wind blowing in faces. Heavy gasps echoed everywhere. By the 7-kilometer mark, many students fell behind, dragging their feet sluggishly. Wang Gang paced alongside the track. Whenever he spotted someone slowing and slacking, he barked sharp reprimands. No slacking. When time runs out, late finishers get double extra training. At last, several students stumbled across the 10-kilometer finish line, bending over, gasping for breath, completely drained. Chun-Yi crossed the finish line dead last and collapsed onto the ground. Other students could draw upon vital blood to sustain their bodies. Chun-Yi had zero vital blood. Every step relied purely on raw leg muscle. Still, his status panel showed small improvement. Strength, 0.8 to 0.83. Chun-Yi's spirits lifted slightly. Begin push-up drills immediately. 3 sets of 100. Sloppy form means you redo everything. Wang Gang's voice boomed again. Groans resounded across the training ground. 1 grueling hour passed before the hellish training finally ended. Everyone lay flat on the ground, too exhausted to move. Gather! Wang Gang's demon-like voice rang out once more. Moments later, the class reformed into formation. Wang Gang stood before them and nodded faintly. You performed adequately. Some fell behind, but that is understandable. Next, I will teach you a martial arts technique. Watch closely. At the word martial arts technique, every student's eyes lit up. For these newly acupoint open teenagers, combat techniques held immense fascination. Martial arts techniques fell into 4 grades: heaven, earth, mysterious, yellow. They greatly boosted a warrior's combat power. Even mastering a basic yellow grade technique could let you tower over peers of the same rank. Yet combat techniques came at exorbitant prices. Even a basic manual cost millions of Federation credits, far out of reach for ordinary folk. Wang Gang spread his feet wide, settling into a stable horse stance. He drew his right fist back toward his waist, every muscle tensing. The technique I will teach you is called collapsing fist. It is ungraded. I will explain the vital blood circulation path. Pay close attention. Disappointment flickered across many students' faces. An ungraded technique meant only basic vital blood movement skills, nothing especially precious. Right after he finished speaking, Zhao Kuan stepped forward from the ranks, a complacent smile on his face. What Teacher Wang says is true. Resource gaps are truly hard to overcome. All eyes turned toward him. Zhao Kuan rotated his wrists. Vital blood circulated inside him, and a faint blue glow wrapped around his right fist. My father is the director of Thunder Martial Dojo. I have practiced our dojo's inherited yellow grade technique, Thunderbolt Fist, since childhood. As his words faded, Zhao Kuan sank into a stance, channeling power, and threw a fierce punch forward. Air trembled, a low rumble like thunder rolling out. His fist slammed hard into a heavy training sandbag. Boom! The huge sandbag shook violently, swinging in a wide arc. Wow, that's amazing! So this is what a yellow grade technique feels like, worlds apart from basic fist styles. Trilling exclamations rose from the surrounding students. Zhao Kuan will definitely shine in the 100-day martial arts exam, securing entry into a top-tier martial arts academy. True. I wonder if Thunder Martial Dojo is still taking new students. I'd love to join. Zhao Kuan basked in the crowd's admiration. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced intentionally toward Chun-Yi at the rear of the formation. Chun-Yi wore a calm expression, completely unmoved inside. Wang Gang frowned, offering no praise for Zhao Kuan. He merely said coolly, technique grade is secondary. What truly matters is whether you can unleash its power with your own strength. Zhao Kuan, do not grow arrogant over your skill. And no advertising for your dojo on school grounds. Zhao Kuan grinned and gave a casual acknowledgement. Watch carefully. Wang Gang roared. Collapsing fist. Bang. He threw a punch forward. A faint halo of vital blood gathered around his knuckles, and a dull air explosion resounded. Uft. The training sandbag directly burst open. Wang Gang retracted his fist and stood upright. I have stressed the core principle repeatedly. Forms are but an outer shell. Vital blood circulation is the root. If your vital blood cannot flow in sync, collapsing fist will never unleash its true power. Who would like to come forward and demonstrate? Students glanced nervously at one another. Nobody volunteered. Wang Gang frowned and pointed at 2 students. You and you. Step up and demonstrate for me. Whispers rippled through the formation. 2 boys nervously stepped out. Good. Keep your core steady. Do not panic. Wang Gang instructed the first boy. He set his horse stance and prepared to throw his punch. But he rushed things. His focus scattered during the power building phase. Vital blood circulated chaotically, and his hips and torso disconnected as he struck. His punch landed limply, generating not the slightest kinetic surge. Wang Gang shook his head. Your center of gravity is unstable. Vital blood is stuck in your chest. Next, the second-ranked student learned from the previous mistakes and deliberately guided his vital energy circulation. Unfortunately, he misjudged the timing of his strike. He struck prematurely before fully gathering his strength, cutting the power of his punch in half. With 2 successive failed demonstrations, the rest of the students wore fearful expressions, and no one else volunteered to step forward. Zhao Kuan stood by with folded arms, looking utterly unconcerned. He had long mastered the yellow, grade thunderbolt fist to perfection and held this ungraded martial art in complete contempt, so he saw no point in trying it himself. Wang Gang frowned and scanned the crowd. Is there anyone else willing to give it a try? If you cannot even master basic martial arts, what will you rely on to compete in the 100-day martial examination? Suddenly, his gaze landed on Chun Yi at the end of the line. Chun Yi, come up here. Mentally drained and exhausted, Chun Yi failed to register at once. He pointed to himself. Me? Yes, you. Wang Gang confirmed. Chun Yi rubbed his aching arms and walked slowly onto the platform. Whispers spread among the students below. Him demonstrating? How can someone with 0 vital energy use martial arts techniques? If he injures himself, Teacher Wang's teaching qualification will surely be revoked. Anyone who dares spread more idle gossip will get out of this place. Wang Gang barked sharply. Silence fell over the crowd. Chun Yi came to a stand on the platform. He had not paid close attention to the previous demonstration of the gathering, strength-shattering fist. After all, he was destined to rely on his system stats. Trivial displays of form meant nothing to him. Prompted by Wang Gang, he recalled the movements and attempted to throw a punch. In an instant, he reproduced every single posture from Wang Gang's demonstration flawlessly. Without hesitation, Chun Yi twisted his waist, planted his foot firmly, and threw his right fist forward with ferocious speed. Every movement flowed smoothly, completed in one seamless motion. His form was nearly identical to Wang Gang's, even slightly superior in execution. Even Chun Yi himself was surprised. He had merely acted on instinct to throw a punch. The only difference was that Chun Yi's strike possessed perfect form, yet no actual destructive power. Wang Gang's pupils constricted. He stared at Chun Yi in utter astonishment. The 2 previous students with usable vital energy had been riddled with flaws, yet Chun Yi, who had 0 vital energy, had delivered a textbook, perfect fist stance. He stood stunned for several seconds, then a thought dawned on him. Of course, Chun Yi possessed the physique of 360 fully opened acupoints. Ordinary humans peaked at 180 acupoints, yet every one of Chun Yi's yin, yang acupoints lay unlocked. His martial comprehension surpassed ordinary people 100-fold. Tragically, those fully opened yin, yang acupoints made him a spirit, leaking cripple. He could not retain vital energy, and his path as a martial artist was effectively shattered. Wang Gang sighed inwardly with genuine regret and spoke earnestly to Chun Yi. Chun Yi, your martial comprehension ranks among the finest I have ever seen among my students. It may even be among the very best in the entire Federation. Sadly, you cannot cultivate martial arts. He paused for a moment and offered sincere advice. I suggest you apply to transfer to the liberal arts martial theory class as soon as possible. Your unparalleled comprehension will allow you to thrive researching martial arts forms, and you can still build a promising future. Thank you for the advice, teacher. I will think about it. Chun Yi walked back down from the platform unperturbed. Whether he studied martial arts or liberal arts made little difference to him. Martial art resources were merely minor bonuses anyway. Pretentious fool, Zhao Kuan muttered under his breath. Though Chun Yi had become a cripple, his natural talent had never been disputed. Before his acupoint awakening, most ordinary people possessed 5 or 6 points of vital energy at most. Chun Yi had once possessed 50 points. He had been universally hailed as a prodigy within the Qin clan. Now a fallen genius, he became an easy target for scorn. What are you all staring at? Get back to training. You cannot even match the crippled Chun Yi, yet you stand there idly. If you fail to master this technique before school ends, you will all bring your parents here. Chun Yi thought, I feel personally attacked. Driven by Wang Gang's fierce threats, the students began sweating through repeated punch drills. At that moment, a commotion erupted at the training ground entrance. 2 figures walked side by side into the yard. At the front stood a slender young lady clad in plain white robes, her features cold and breathtakingly beautiful. Behind her followed an elderly man. Though his face showed signs of age, his hair remained jet black. His aura was deep and unfathomable. Chun Yi raised an eyebrow upon recognizing the visitors. Lin Ruoxue, young heiress of the Lin clan, a powerful martial art family of Jiangqing. Behind her stood elder Lin Tianxiang, a peak 5th grade martial artist. Lin Ruoxue also happened to be Chun Yi's fiancée. This scene, a sense of déjà vu washed over Chun Yi. Truly classic trope. As expected, murmurs of amazement rippled through the crowd. Wow, Is that Lin Ruoxue, our school beauty? Is the school beauty really visiting the training ground? Unbelievable. She is even more stunning than the rumors claim. No ordinary person can compare to such looks and bearing. I heard she opened 103 acupoints. She is guaranteed admission to the Nova Academy. Every student stared in open admiration and awe. Even the arrogant Zhao Kuan gaped, thoroughly captivated by Lin Ruoxue's beauty. Chunyi glanced around, speechless. Are these people NPCs? It felt as if he existed on a completely different plane from everyone else. These overused plot tropes still existed. Wang Gang quickly composed himself and bowed slightly. Greetings, Elder Lin. In this martial art world, respect for strength dictated such gestures. Lin Tianxiang shot him a casual glance and nodded faintly. Under countless gazes, the much-admired Lin Ruoxue stepped forward. She walked straight toward Chunyi, ignoring everyone else. Wait, why is she heading for Chunyi? You do not know? The school beauty is engaged to that useless Chunyi. It looks like trouble is coming. Lin Ruoxue halted directly in front of Chunyi and spoke in a cold, aloof tone. Chunyi, I'm not interested, thanks. Chunyi waved his hand dismissively. Lin Ruoxue fell momentarily speechless. She struggled to keep her composure. Taking a deep breath, she resumed. Chunyi, do you know why I have come? Just say what you came to say. Do not make me guess. What is wrong with you? Why have you brought a bodyguard along, acting as if your status makes you untouchable? Do you walk around flaunting your privileges, craving others' admiration? Already irritable from his diminished physical strength, Chunyi snapped back at her. You. Lin Ruoxue's face turned livid. Raised with elite education, she had never endured such sharp, unsparing public retort. 18 years of life had wrapped her in universal adoration. Never had anyone, least of all the disgraced crippled Chunyi, spoken to her in such a manner. A deathly hush descended over the training ground. Every student gaped, dumbfounded. Is Chunyi out of his mind? How dare he speak to Lin Ruoxue like that? He is courting disaster. That is the young lady of the Lin clan, and Elder Lin, a fifth-grade expert, stands right beside her. Elder Lin Tianxiang's expression darkened. His black hair stirred without wind, and the overwhelming pressure of a fifth-grade martial artist exploded outward. Gusts swept across the training ground, sending sand and gravel rolling across the floor. Every student present struggled to breathe and sank to one knee. Wang Gang's face paled. He gritted his teeth and endured the pressure, not daring to step in. Only Chunyi did not kneel. He had thrown himself flat on the ground the instant before Lin Tianxiang unleashed his aura. Insolent wretch! Lin Tianxiang roared, his voice crashing like thunder, ringing in everyone's ears. A worthless cripple with zero vital energy. How dare you insult the young lady of the Lin clan? You seek death. Murderous intent hung thick in the air. Lin Ruoxue's chest heaved. She stared furiously at Chunyi lying on the ground, a mixture of rage and hurt swelling inside her. Yet she could do nothing to him. Federal law strictly prohibited private duels among students. Violators faced immediate expulsion. With Chunyi's zero vital energy reading, even a light blow from Lin Ruoxue could kill him. Insults were permitted, physical retaliation was not. Chunyi, you are utterly unreasonable. Lin Ruoxue ground her teeth, her voice icy. I have not come here to trade petty insults. You are a spirit, leaking cripple, barred forever from martial cultivation. Our engagement ended the moment your acupoints awakened and failed. I, Lin Ruoxue, possess extraordinary talent and will rise to great heights in the martial world. You are no match for me. Here, in front of everyone, I formally announce that I dissolve our engagement. With those words, she spun around and departed. She could not bear to remain another moment. Humph, an ant. Lin Tianxiang turned and followed Lin Ruoxue. Chunyi sprang fluidly back to his feet and brushed dust off his clothes. Very well, call off the engagement then. 30 days west of the river, 30 days east of the river. Do not look down on a young man in misfortune. Lin Ruoxue, you will regret this. Having fulfilled the required plot beat, Chunyi rejoined the student ranks as if nothing had happened. He turned toward Wang Gang. Teacher, let us resume training. Wang Gang fell silent for a long moment and asked cautiously, Chunyi, are you all right? Chunyi replied, I have never felt so refreshed. Wang Gang lapsed into silence. Is this boy truly sane? He kept saying the strangest things. Zhao Kuan let out mocking snorts, contempt clear in his eyes. Putting on a brave front. He must be seething inside. To have his engagement publicly broken by such a gifted lady heir. He has brought shame upon the entire Qin clan. Chunyi gave no ground and shot a sharp retort back at Zhao Kuan. Zhao Kuan's face darkened, and he stepped backward, avoiding Chen Yi. How could someone from a prominent clan speak with such crude directness? Ignoring Zhao Kuan, Chen Yi addressed Wang Gang again. Let us keep training. I am in a hurry. Very well. Wang Gang exhaled heavily and spoke in a solemn tone. Since your spirits remain unbroken, training resumes. Everyone, focus and polish the gathering, strength-shattering fist. Within the martial path, only strength grants true confidence. All else is hollow illusion. After hours of grueling drills on the training ground, school finally ended. Relief washed over all the students. Finally, school is over. I am completely worn out. Tell me about it. Teacher Wang is far too strict. My arms still ache. I shall ask my mother to prepare spirit, beast meat tonight to replenish my vital energy, or I will not survive tomorrow's lessons. Groups of students streamed out through the main gate of Jiangxing No. 1 High School. Chen Yi finished his set of push-ups and exhaled deeply. Open status panel. Name, Chen Yi. Bone age, 18. Vital energy, 0. Strength, 0.8, 0.85. Combat power rating, 0.5. Evaluation, comparable to an average street-level civilian. His strength had increased by 0.02. Chen Yi was satisfied. At this rate, he would raise his strength to 1.0 within 10 days. Dragging his sore, fatigued body, he trundled out of the school gates. Chen Yi currently resided within the Chun clan compound, not far from the school. The Chun clan wielded great wealth and influence, controlling thousands of mu of land for their clan grounds, complete with clan academies and all supporting facilities. Most young clansmen never attended public schools. They received instruction from clan elders from childhood. Chen Yi's special condition barred him from the clan academy, so Chen Tianhao had sent him to Jiangxing No. 1 High School instead. At first, the Chun clan had opposed his return. Once his prodigious gifts manifested, however, all opposition fell silent. The old clan patriarch drew near his end, and the younger generation lacked promising talents. They needed Chen Yi as their potential cornerstone. Now that Chen Yi had become a cripple, voices of opposition rose once more. Even the clan patriarch Chen Tianhao struggled to suppress them. Inside the Chun clan villa district, Chen Yi had barely stepped through the door when his mobile phone rang. It was his biological father. He answered, and a deep, powerful voice came through the speaker. Xiao Yi, come to the clan ancestral hall. We have matters regarding you to discuss. Understood. I will be there shortly. Chen Yi replied indifferently. As a transmigrator, he held little emotional attachment to Chen Tianhao. To him, the man was little more than a source of financial support. The Chun clan ancestral hall retained traditional, style architecture. The main hall stretched deep, with high ceilings. Two massive wood pillars rose from floor to roof, beams. Above hung the plaque of the Chun ancestral shrine. Rows of seats lined both sides. The hall was packed. All the clan elders sat in solemn silence, and the heavy atmosphere weighed on everyone present. Seated in the main seat was clan leader Chen Tianhao, his expression unreadable. A refined, wealthy-looking woman sat off to the side. She stared toward the entrance with undisguised revulsion. Chen Yi walked slowly into the hall and swept his gaze across the assembled elders without speaking. Xiao Yi, you have arrived. Chen Tianhao spoke first. State your business, Chen Yi said, waving his hand impatiently. Chen Tianhao appeared around 40 years old, stern and imposing. Chen Yi knew he was fundamentally weak-willed. He had abandoned Chen Yi's mother under outside pressure, and Chen Yi felt pity for the woman's fate. Such disrespect. Where are your manners? The elder seated at the first chair on the right brushed his sleeves and rebuked him. This was the clan's grand elder, Chen Tianhao's second uncle, a man of immense seniority. The grand elder turned toward the clan leader. Tianhao, we have summoned this clan council solely for Chen Yi. I move that Chen Yi be stricken from the clan genealogy and expelled from the Chen clan at once. Chen Tianhao frowned and objected. Uncle, this goes too far. Chen Yi has suffered misfortune through no fault of his character. He once brought great honor to our clan with his extraordinary gifts. To cast him aside merely because misfortune struck him is excessively cruel. Cruel? The grand elder's tone hardened. You let personal affection cloud your judgment. Chen Yi is a spirit, leaking cripple with permanently zero vital energy. He will never step onto the martial path. The Chen clan is a martial art house. We aim to expand toward Nova. We have no reason to support a man with no future. The second elder quickly seconded him. Exactly. Our clan resources are limited. They ought to go to promising young clansmen, not wasted on him. Furthermore, Elder Lin visited our clan this afternoon. The Lin clan delivered an ultimatum. They state the engagement is null and void. If our clan presses the matter further, they will sever all ties with us completely. The Grand Elder continued, his voice growing harsher. Chun Yi's public rejection of the engagement before the entire school has spread across the city. Every martial art clan is laughing at us. One man's disgrace tarnishes the entire Chen clan. Keeping him here will only bring continued harm to our reputation. The Grand Elder speaks the truth. He must be struck from the records and driven out. We cannot risk the clan's reputation for one useless man. It should have been done long ago. He is nothing but trouble. The main wife seated on the side let out a cold laugh. He is an outsider who never belonged in this household. He takes after his late worthless mother. As Chun Tianhao's wife, she harbored deep resentment. Chun Tianhao faced the united front of elders and spoke grimly. Even if he cannot cultivate martial arts, he is my son. His mother suffered unjust persecution. I owe them both. The Chen clan has not fallen so far that we cannot support one ordinary man. Tianhao, the Grand Elder, rose abruptly. You must distinguish public duty from private sentiment. As clan leader, the interests of the clan come before father-son affection. Is your personal sentiment worth more than the honor of our entire clan? Even if you were my own grandson, I would make the same choice. All the elders stood simultaneously and spoke in unison. We vote unanimously to expel Chen Yi. Their combined voices left Chun Tianhao no room for rebuttal. Chun Tianhao clenched his fists. Though nominal leader of the clan, he could not defy the united weight of the senior elders. The old guard held deep-rooted power within the clan, and he could not act arbitrarily. The Grand Elder pressed his advantage with icy eyes. Tianhao, do not be stubborn. Expelling Chen Yi is the wisest course. If you continue to favor this cripple, you will alienate every promising clansman. Your position as clan leader may no longer be secure. This open threat drained the color from Chun Tianhao's face. Sorrow and powerlessness welled inside him. He carried lifelong regret for failing to protect Chen Yi's mother and then Chun Yi himself. Yet he bore responsibility for the survival and future of the whole clan. He needed to set an example. After a long, tense silence, his tightly clenched fist slowly loosened. Chun Tianhao said nothing. Silence amounted to consent. Seeing this, the Grand Elder spoke loudly for all to hear. Since the clan leader acquiesces, effective immediately, Chun Yi is removed from the clan genealogy. All housing, resources, and support provided by the Chun clan are revoked. He is expelled from the clan. From this day onward, you shall have nothing whatsoever to do with the Chun clan. A satisfied, mocking smile spread across the madam of the Chun household. Do you hear that? The Chun family will not keep an idle parasite like you. Gather your belongings and get out right now. Do not continue to stand here and offend our eyes. Chun Yi felt nothing at all. He had listened to them ramble on, and their intent was plain. They wanted him cast out. Once the most brilliant genius across Jiangqing, he had now fallen to become a worthless invalid. Such a stark contrast had brought shame upon the entire clan, and these people could not bear to hold their heads high. Chun Yi lifted his gaze toward Chun Tianhao, seated in the main chair. Old man, aren't you going to say something on my behalf? Chun Tianhao's lips trembled, yet all that escaped him was a long, heavy sigh. Xiao Yi, you understand. As the clan head, I cannot. Enough. Chun Yi raised a hand to cut him off. He had no patience for empty excuses. He only wanted this whole humiliating affair over and done with. 30 years east of the river, 30 years west of the river. Do not scorn a youth fallen on hard times. Do not scorn a youth? The woman in the main seat snorted coldly. Without the Chen family, what exactly do you think you are? Your father was blind to bring a disgrace like you into this world, you. Lin Xiushui, hold your tongue. Rage flared in Chun Tianhao. He swung his palm hard across the woman's face. Crack. The sharp sound of the slap echoed through the great hall. Lin Xiushui stood stunned, staring disbelievingly at Chun Tianhao. You struck me. You hit me for the son of that despicable woman. Chun Tianhao froze mid-air, realizing he had acted on impulse. Faced with her tear-filled, blazing eyes, he fell completely silent, unable even to meet her gaze. I lost my temper and struck you by mistake. By mistake? Lin Xiushui laughed bitterly. You spineless coward. I have misjudged you. If this is how things will be, then we are done. I will take our son Tianming to live with my Lin family. From now on, he shall bear the surname Lin. Xiushui, that is not what I meant. Chun Tianhao scrambled to explain. But Lin Xiushui would not listen. Covering her stinging cheek, she fled the hall in tears. Chun Yi watched the scene unfold with faint amusement. Coming to the Chun residence and witnessing this dramatic family quarrel was almost worth the trip. Tianhao, maintain your composure. The great elder frowned sternly. Settle Chun Yi's matter first, then deal with your domestic troubles. Chun Tianhao's face alternated between pale and flushed. He dared not oppose his uncle, nor did he possess the courage to utter a single word in defense of the boy. That single slap had been the only act of defiance he had mustered in his entire life. At the great elder's reminder, he nodded stiffly, his voice dry and hollow. You speak truly, second uncle. Let us attend to the important matter. The great elder spoke. Since the clan head offers no objection, I shall pronounce the verdict. Chun Yi, you will vacate the Chun Villa compound immediately. All monthly resources allocated to you by the clan are revoked. Where you go and what you do henceforth bears no relation to the Chun family. Do not trouble yourself, great elder. I shall leave of my own accord. Chun Yi gave a slight bow, cast one final glance at Chun Tianhao, then turned and walked out of the ancestral hall. If he had no special power to rely on, what future awaited someone with zero qi and blood? No workhouse would take him. He would most likely end up starving to death on the streets. The Chun family wanted him dead. Chun Yi was no saint. Quite the opposite. He remembered every slight done to him. They wished him dead? Very well. None of them would escape reckoning. Chun Yi stepped out through the Chun family gates carrying his bundled belongings. Night had already descended. Lights glowed from the grand buildings behind him, like scattered stars. Chun Yi pulled out his phone to check his balance. Every bank card linked to the Chun household had been deactivated. Overnight, he had gone from comfortably well, off to penniless. He massaged his temples. This is troublesome. It looked as though he would sleep under a bridge tonight. Food was an even more pressing concern. He needed to keep himself from starving. He wandered aimlessly through the streets of Jiangqing. Finding a sheltered public bench, he lay down at once. His day's training had reached its limit. Further practice would yield no increase to his stat points. There was nothing more to be done. He closed his eyes to sleep. Night passed without incident. At dawn, sunlight spilled across the city, and pedestrians began to fill the streets. Chun Yi straightened his rumpled clothes, brushed dust off himself, and stretched. Downcast? Beaten down? Not at all. If he was willing to keep moving forward, paths stretched out before him, every one capable of leading to greatness. Time to train. Refreshed, he jogged toward Jiangqing No. 1 High School. Upon entering classroom 3, he overheard noisy whispers spreading among his classmates. What a tragedy. He is completely on his own now. Without the Chen family backing him, he will never turn his fate around. A broken spirit physique, zero qi, and blood, and now he has lost his clan support. Just staying alive will be a struggle. Yesterday he shouted those bold words about not scorning a youth. Now it sounds nothing short of ridiculous. Chun Yi sat quietly in his corner seat, paying them no mind. Moments later, Su Qingwan walked into the classroom, her tall figure commanding attention. Her gaze swept across the room and settled on Chun Yi in the back. A flicker of quiet pity crossed her features, yet she said nothing. Stepping up to the podium, she opened her textbook. Class begins. Who can tell me what the minimum qi and blood value required to become a rank 1 martial artist is? A student answered from below. 100 qi and blood. It is basic martial knowledge. Surpass 100 points, and you attain rank 1 martial artist status. 100 qi and blood marks the dividing line between ordinary humans and martial artists. Surpass that threshold, and you truly step onto the path of martial power. Su Qingwan nodded faintly and confirmed. Precisely. Reach 100 qi and blood, and you shed mortal shackles to become a rank 1 martial artist. Most ordinary people will never pass that mark. Only those who have unlocked 30 or more acupoints can hope to break past 100. The minimum requirement for the 100-day martial exam is to attain official martial rank before the examination. The Federation spans 36 provinces and over 100,000 cities. Our Jiangnan province ranks 10th, and competition for the martial exam is fierce. Each year, more than 3 million students sit the martial exam across Jiangnan province. Fewer than 10% gain admission to prestigious martial arts universities. Less than 30 earn spots at the Nova Institute. The martial exam is the only legitimate path for ordinary folk to rewrite their destinies. Her words hung in the air, casting a somber mood over the classroom. Everyone understood that in this world ruled by martial power, outstanding academic achievement alone left you trapped among the common masses. Only attaining martial rank could lift you out of hardship. One student murmured, 3 million competing for so few openings. It is impossibly hard. My qi and blood is only a little over 60. I still have a long way to go to hit 100. Less than 3 months remain until the exam. If I do not break through soon, my future is ruined. Quiet. Su Qingwan tapped the desk. The exam draws near, yet we must focus first on the present. Study the 12th Federation Blood, tempering manual carefully. The martial exam tests not only courage and strength, but your fundamentals. Build solid foundations, and breaking through to early rank. One before the exam will place you above 60% of all candidates. At the very least, you can gain entry to a second-tier martial academy. If all else fails, you could work as a training partner in a martial arts hall. The work is grueling, yet the pay is decent. Su Qingwan continued her lecture from the podium. Chen Yi fought hard to stay awake below. Even in another world, classroom lectures still made him drowsy. 40 minutes later, the bell rang for dismissal. As everyone prepared for practical combat training, Su Qingwan spoke. Everyone else may leave. Chen Yi, stay behind. Why is teacher Su calling for Chen Yi? Students whispered as they filed out. Could she be trying to talk him out of taking the martial exam? Now that he is cast out by the Chen family with no resources, he cannot possibly sit for it. Most likely she will urge him to withdraw voluntarily, so he does not waste the school's quota. Soon the room emptied, leaving only Chen Yi. He walked over to the podium. You wanted to see me, teacher Su? Su Qingwan stepped forward and tugged firmly on his ear. You have quite the nerve ignoring my words. You made a quick escape after school yesterday. Ow. Chen Yi winced in pain. This theory instructor was no weakling. Barely in her 20s, she had already reached rank 4 martial artist. No one knew where the school had recruited such a prodigy. A talent like Su Qingwan would stand out even among elite universities. She must have unlocked no fewer than 80 acupoints. Teacher Su, I had pressing matters, Chen Yi replied helplessly. In truth, he had simply forgotten. Have you been disowned by the Chen family? Su Qingwan asked. Yes. Chen Yi rubbed his reddened ear. Word travels fast with you. It is not gossip. The clan had publicly issued an announcement across the city yesterday. She folded her arms and looked at him. So what did you wish to speak to me about? I need to get to training, Chen Yi said. Seeing his resigned attitude, Su Qingwan sighed deeply, her playful tone fading into gravity. Chen Yi, I want to speak with you seriously. Given your current circumstances, pursuing the martial path is not realistic for you. I advise you to switch to liberal arts studies while you still can. Liberal arts depend on knowledge alone, not chi and blood. You have all 360 acupoints open. You could research martial arts manuals and combat techniques, and live a stable, secure life. That is far better than chasing a hopeless road in martial arts. Chen Yi shook his head. I have no intention of switching tracks for now. Why are you so stubborn? Su Qingwan frowned. Continuing with martial arts achieves nothing for you. 100 chi and blood is the bare minimum for the exam. Where will you get that power? From unyielding resolve, Chen Yi answered, his gaze steady as he looked into the distance. Su Qingwan fell speechless. What naive teenage bravado. Unyielding resolve would not shield him from defeat in the exam arena. Chen Yi's eyes grew deep, his tone calm. Teacher Su, do you believe in miracles? The question caught Su Qingwan off guard. Her brows drew together, and complex emotions stirred inside her. Miracles? Miracles never came out of thin air. She had watched countless prodigies rise, and seen ordinary youths pour every ounce of effort into chasing their dreams. Yet reality had taught her, in martial arts, 99% hard work could never make up for 1% natural talent. Who had not dreamed of defying fate? Even she herself had once been young and arrogant, convinced no one could stand above her. No one would guess that she had once been the top talent of the Nova Institute, until she had offended a martial saint from Nova. Her own future had been shattered, cast down from greatness. In the end, she could only take up work as a teacher in this small city. Bittersweet feelings welled within Su Qingwan. She had learned a harsh truth. The world cared nothing for unfulfilled genius. Only true strength mattered. A genius who could not grow strong was still nothing but an ant. Looking at Chen Yi, she saw echoes of her younger self. I believe miracles can happen, Su Qingwan said. But can you create one? Chen Yi smiled confidently. Of course I can. Su Qingwan stared at his earnest, hopeful eyes and sighed, giving up on persuading him. Very well. If you insist on walking this harsh road, I shall not stop you. 3 months remain until the martial exam. I will wait and see if you can work a miracle. If you fail, it will still not be too late to transfer to liberal arts. She turned to leave the classroom. Chen Yi stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Su Qingwan paused, confused. Is there something else? You ought to head to practical training. Chen Yi's expression turned utterly solemn as he met her eyes. Teacher Su, I hold you in high regard. Su Qingluan's eyes widened in shock. Heat rose to her cheeks, anger flaring. Chen-Yi, what nonsense are you spouting? Withdraw those words at once. Chen-Yi did not look away. I speak in complete sincerity. Su Qingluan grew flustered, normally so composed. What exactly are you trying to do? I have no money for food. Could you lend me 3,000 federal credits? Su Qingluan responded without hesitation. Take it. If you need 30,000, I will give it to you. Chen-Yi mentally celebrated. His plan had worked. Su Qingluan pulled out her phone and completed the transfer. Ding. Alipay received 3,000 federal credits. Thank you, Teacher Su. If trouble ever comes your way, I will repay this favor. Chen-Yi spoke genuinely. Right now, you are the biggest trouble I have, Su Qingluan gritted out. Chen-Yi tucked away his phone, in high spirits. I mean every word. We shall see. Su Qingluan answered. She hurried out of the classroom, eager to escape. Though Chen-Yi possessed handsome features, she was his teacher. Certain boundaries must never be crossed. Chen-Yi watched her retreating figure and smiled to himself. She carried many heavy stories within her. To be honest, he could not truly read her inner thoughts. He simply thought she was very appealing. Now that he had arrived in this new world, pursuing connections with remarkable people felt only natural. The practical combat class unfolded as usual, filled with training, tempering qi, and blood, and practicing the shattering fist. Zhao Kuan and his two lackeys appeared as always, taunting Chen-Yi loudly. Chen-Yi almost admired how consistently the boy played the part of his rival. When the long day of training finally ended, Chen-Yi opened his status panel. Strength, 0.8, 50.87. Though he had pushed himself harder than the day before, his gains were minimal. I have hit my training cap again. Chen-Yi itched to grow stronger, yet rushing would accomplish nothing. Stats grew slowly at first, then would surge explosively later on. He trudged out of the school gate, resigned. He had planned to find a bench to sleep outdoors once more when he spotted a familiar figure. Su Qingluan was finishing work for the day. She had changed out of her formal teaching uniform into simple casual wear, her long hair tied loosely back, lending her a soft warmth. Chen-Yi brightened. He quickened his pace and called out, Teacher Su, a moment please. Su Qingluan lifted her head. Seeing Chen-Yi, her expression turned weary. You again. You just borrowed money. What is it now? Still recovering from being tricked out of 3,000 credits, she expected nothing good from him. Chen-Yi put on his most earnest smile. Teacher, I truly am in a difficult spot. I have nowhere to stay. I cannot afford rent, and I have been sleeping outdoors these past nights. Temperatures drop sharply in Jiangsheng after dark. If I keep sleeping outside, I will surely fall ill. Su Qingluan frowned. What exactly are you asking of me? Teacher Su, may I stay temporarily at your place? Just for a few days. I will move out as soon as I get back on my feet, and I will not disturb you at all. Su Qingluan's eyes widened in alarm. A student staying in his teacher's private home? That was completely inappropriate. I cannot allow it, she refused outright. Men and women ought to keep proper distance, and especially so between teacher and student. What would people think if word spread? Teacher Su, you would not want rumors circulating around the school tomorrow, would you? Chen-Yi said calmly. Are you threatening me? Anger flashed across Su Qingluan's face. Pressure belonging to a rank 4 martial artist rippled outward. She fixed him with a sharp glare, yet a faint flush crept up her ears. Chen-Yi, how dare you? Do you wish for me to assign you a major demerit? Assign whatever punishment you like. I have nothing left to lose. Chen-Yi replied evenly. If you turn me away, by tomorrow morning every teacher and student will whisper that the strict, respected teacher Su took a male student into her home late at night. True or false, gossip will spread fast. Su Qingluan's chest rose and fell with frustration. The boy truly had no sense of shame. After a long, tense standoff, Su Qingluan relented. Her imposing aura faded, her face dark with displeasure. Part of her still recalled seeing fragments of her old self in Chen-Yi. Very well. Think of it as charity, she sighed. In her younger days, anyone who dared speak to her like this would have faced her wrath. Yet after witnessing the overwhelming power of a martial saint, much of her fire had faded. Follow me, she told him. Thank you, Teacher Su. Chen-Yi's face lit up. Su Qingluan grabbed her bag and stormed forward. I will set ground rules first. Do not wander through my rooms, and never touch my personal belongings. You must never speak a word about staying with me to anyone outside. If you break this rule, you will regret it. You will sleep on the living room sofa. You are strictly forbidden to step foot inside my bedroom. Chen-Yi nodded repeatedly. Understood. I will obey every rule. Sunset faded into twilight. Their silhouettes walked side by side into the night. Happiness Residential Complex. Chun-Yi and Su Qingwan arrived at the housing compound. Compared to the opulent Qin villas, this place was plain and unassuming. Yet it was brimming with everyday life. Most residents were ordinary folk who had unlocked fewer than 30 acupoints. Street vendors called out to passers-by along the roads. As they walked through the gate, Chun-Yi was surprised to see a security post. Su Qingwan greeted the elderly guard on duty. "Uncle Yi." "Oh, it is Xiao Su returning home." The old man set down his book and looked them over with a smile. Chun-Yi glanced at the book's title and nearly choked. The elderly Marshal Saint works as a community security guard. Even elderly men love these kinds of fantasy novels. "Xiao Su, is this your boyfriend?" "A fine-looking young man," Uncle Yi remarked. Su Qingwan grew visibly flustered. "Please do not joke like that, Uncle Yi. He is one of my students. He ran into sudden family trouble and will stay with me for a short while." Uncle Yi blinked, then nodded knowingly. "Ah, a student. I see. Young people these days certainly live freely." Chun-Yi struggled to hold back laughter. "We cannot stop to chat, Uncle Yi. We are heading upstairs." Su Qingwan dragged Chun-Yi quickly away. Watching them hurry off, Uncle Yi's smile faded. His eyes narrowed thoughtfully. 360 fully unlocked acupoints. Fascinating. In all my long years, I have never encountered such a talent. Inside the elevator, an awkward silence hung in the cramped enclosed space. Su Qingwan's cheeks burned. Uncle Ye's teasing comment a moment ago had been utterly mortifying. Growing more irritated by the second, she turned her head and glared at the teenager wearing an innocent-looking expression. "What were you laughing at back there?" Chun-Yi spoke in a solemn, dead serious tone. "I wasn't laughing. The corners of your mouth were practically reaching the sky." Su Qingwan ground her teeth. "Chun-Yi, I warn you. Behave yourself once we get inside the apartment. If you pull any reckless stunts, I will break your legs." "Understood." Ding. The elevator arrived at their floor. Su Qingwan unlocked the door and stepped inside. A faint, pleasant fragrance lingered in the air. The decor was simple yet elegant, every corner reflecting the tidy, refined taste of a woman living alone. "Put these on." Su Qingwan tossed him a pair of brand new slippers. "Spare toiletries are all ready. Don't mix up the towels, or you'll regret it. And don't get up to any weird business in this place." She knew exactly what thoughts swirled inside the mind of an 18-year-old high school boy. Chun-Yi gave a nod of acknowledgement. "I've left the sofa bedding over here. Make the couch bed yourself and get some rest early." With that, Su Qingwan turned and walked into her bedroom. The door clicked shut softly, sealing off the living room. Early on the third morning, Chun-Yi rubbed his eyes and sat up from the sofa. Traces of that subtle nice scent still hung in the air. Nothing improper had happened overnight. Though they were staying under the same roof, there was an enormous gap in their capabilities. Even if he had any improper thoughts, he lacked the courage to act on them. He rose slowly and folded the bedding neatly. He had just finished washing up when the bedroom door clicked open. Su Qingwan stepped out, dressed in a light, colored nightgown. Her long hair fell loosely over her shoulders. Her skin was fair and translucent, her features soft with drowsiness. "Good morning, Teacher Su." "Morning." Unlike Chun-Yi, Su Qingwan looked worn out. It seemed she had slept poorly the night before. She yawned. "Do you want breakfast? I can grab you something on my way out." "2 steamer baskets of steamed buns, thanks. I've transferred the money to you." Su Qingwan fell speechless. That money had originally belonged to her. Too bothered to argue with him, she slipped on her bare, patterned slippers and headed for the door. As she turned, one strap of her nightgown slipped off her shoulder, baring her smooth back. Chun-Yi's gaze swept across it, and he froze. Stretching across her jade-like back ran a long, hideous scar. Only its upper section was exposed beneath the nightgown, yet it was gruesome enough to send a chill down one's spine. Noticing his reaction, Su Qingwan pulled her clothing back into place. Her tone remained calm. "Finish your breakfast and get ready for school. We have the placement assessment today, so don't slack off." Chun-Yi asked no further questions. All right. After breakfast, the two headed for school. Regular theory classes went by, and then all students assembled on the martial arts training ground. Today the training ground was unusually bustling. The entire grade was gathered, along with homeroom teachers, the principal and vice principal of No. 1 high school. 2 brand new silver martial arts testing machines stood in the center of the field, their screens glowing cold white. One measured strength, the other measured chi blood. This placement assessment was a major screening ahead of the senior year martial arts college entrance exam. Its results would determine the list of students selected for key track training. So no one dared treat it lightly. It's finally assessment day. I've been holding back for a whole month, and today I'm going all out. I heard these test results get sent straight to the Municipal Martial Arts Bureau. Top scorers get priority, training quotas. I'm so curious. Who will break through to first grade warrior this month? The best score last month was only 3.8 strength and 67 chi blood. Probably nobody's hit first grade yet. Groups of students chattered nervously. In this martial arts world, power commanded respect. Every breakthrough in one's stats represented a chance to climb the social ladder. At the front of the crowd stood Zhao Kun, flanked by his followers. He held himself tall and arrogant. Thanks to pills from his family's martial arts studio, he had recently broken through to first grade warrior. Against ordinary students, he held an overwhelming advantage. Students stepped forward one by one in class order to throw punches at the tester. Bang, bang, bang. Heavy thuds echoed as numbers flickered rapidly across the screens. Hanli, strength 3.2, chi, blood 68. Wang Lin, strength 3.7, chi, blood 75. Tang Chuan, strength 1.1, chi, blood 12. Most ordinary students posted unremarkable figures. A few talented individuals hit around 4.5 strength and roughly 90 chi, blood, drawing rounds of applause. Dozens of students had finished testing, yet none had crossed the threshold for first grade warrior. Their martial orifice awakenings were still too recent. Next, Zhao Kun. At the teacher's call, most of the field fell silent. Every eye locked onto the young man at the front. Zhao Kun took a deep breath and strode to the testing machine. He twisted his wrists and neck, joints cracking. His muscles tensed, and his chi, blood surged. Watch closely. This is real power. Thunder, roar fist. He sank into a stable stance, channeled power into his right fist, and smashed it hard against the test panel. Boom. A deep, dull blast rang out. The panel shook violently, and the screen numbers raced before settling. Strength, 5.3, chi, blood, 102. First grade warrior. He had officially broken through. The whole crowd erupted in shock. He really made first grade. Strength over 5, chi, blood over 100. Standard entry, level first grade. Zhao Kun is incredible. He's definitely near the top of the grade now. His followers hurried over, showering him with praise. Amazing, Kun. You're definitely grade 1. The only first grade in our class. You outclass everyone. Zhao Kun basked in the compliments, brimming with pride. From the viewing platform, Principal Zhang Handong nodded at him. Not bad. Breaking through to first grade so quickly makes him a promising talent. Add his name to the list. A teacher jotted Zhao Kun's name down immediately. Testing continued. Subsequent peak readings topped out at 4.7 strength and 83 chi, blood, none matching Zhao Kun. Next, Chen Yi. Murmurs rose the moment the name was spoken. No need to watch. 0 chi, blood again for sure. His strength is probably worse than an average civilian. He's just here to fill a spot. Zhao Kun crossed his arms and looked down on Chen Yi as he walked forward, a mocking smile playing across his lips. Fresh off his first grade breakthrough, Chen Yi's fate struck him as ironic. Once a genius who had overshadowed him, Chen Yi now could not even step foot into martial arts cultivation. Standing among the teachers, Su Qingwan watched the teenager's calm profile and sighed quietly. I hope you can pull off a miracle. Ignoring all jeering gazes, Chen Yi walked unhurriedly to the machine. Jealousy from others was to be expected. He threw a basic collapsing fist. Thud. The punch held no explosive force. It looked feeble. Laughter swelled louder. He isn't even trying anymore. Useless stats as always. What a waste of a full orifice innate talent. Amid the chatter, the silver tester's screen flickered and froze on 2 stark sets of numbers. Strength, 0.87. Chi, blood, 0. Did I read that right? Strength below 1. A primary school kid could hit harder. 0 chi, blood again. A genuine defective physique. The gap between him and Zhao Kun's 5.3 strength and 100 plus chi, blood, is unimaginably huge. Zhao Kun laughed aloud. Chen Yi, do you see the gap now? I could crush you with one kick. How glorious you once were, and how pathetic you are today. His followers joined in taunting. Students all around pointed and whispered. On the viewing platform, Principal Zhang Handong shook his head. What a pity. Other teachers sighed as well. There were historical records of individuals who had opened all 360 martial orifices. Everyone had hailed them as peerless prodigies. Even though they could not retain chi blood, the Federation had poured endless resources into them. Yet every single one had grown old and died without ever reaching first grade warrior. Vast resources sufficient to nurture several martial kings yielded nothing for those leak, orifice-defective physiques. Their only real advantage lay in extraordinary comprehension. But great comprehension meant nothing without actual power. Even if they deciphered peerless martial arts techniques, they could not practice them themselves, and others dared not risk trying incomplete techniques that might cause bodily destruction. Such was the cruel dilemma of that rare physique. Chun-Yi finished his test and returned to the ranks. He was merely a minor distraction. The assessment pressed onward. Next, soon the final student completed their test. Just as the assessment was drawing to a close, a graceful figure walked through the training ground gates. A gentle wind stirred her hair. Slender and beautiful, she seemed out of place amid the noisy, heated atmosphere. With every step she took, surrounding noise felt muted. "It's Lin Ruoxue," someone gasped. All eyes turned toward her, and the commotion exceeded even that for Zhao Kun. Good heavens, she's actually here for the placement assessment. Lin Ruoxue, the top talent in Jiangxing. Why is she at number 1 high school? Zhao Kun's brand new first grade achievement looks trivial all of a sudden. Principal and vice principal both sat up straight on the viewing stand. Zhang Handong glanced at the vice principal. "Why has the Lin family girl come?" "I have no idea," the vice principal replied. Word spread widely some time ago about her breaking off her engagement with Chun-Yi. She is likely here to demonstrate how vast the gap between them has grown. Lin Ruoxue was Jiangxing's most promising candidate for admission to Nova Academy. Beneath countless gazes, Lin Ruoxue remained calm and unassuming as she stepped before the testing machine. She lifted her delicate jade-like hand and threw a punch. A faint icy jade sheen coated her fist. Principal Zhang Handong's eyes narrowed. The profound, rank martial art jade ice hands. She has mastered it far sooner than expected. 2 staggering figures appeared on the display. Strength, 10.4. Chi, blood, 253. Dead silence fell. Not a sound could be heard across the 1,000-student training ground. 10 points of strength? Someone stammered. I've never seen anyone hit 10 strength units. First, grade entry only requires 5 strength points. That must be mid-stage first grade warrior. 250, 3 chi, blood, more than double Zhao Kun's total. Zhang Handong stood up, eyes blazing. At such a young age, already mid-stage first grade. That was the true prowess of Jiangxing's number 1 genius. Lin Ruoxue lowered her fist, her expression composed. She looked straight ahead, her clear voice carrying across the whole field. Do you believe first-grade warriors merely need to meet numerical thresholds? Everyone fell quiet, listening intently. You are mistaken. First-grade warriors go through 3 transformative refinements: tempering the skin, tempering the flesh, tempering the bones. Only mastering all 3 grants first-grade warrior peak status. She raised her slender white arm. I practiced the ice jade bone art. I have already fully completed the first refinement, perfected skin tempering. My skin and membrane are as tough as fine armor. Ordinary first-grade warriors cannot harm me with their full-power strikes. Confused murmurs arose. Many students had never heard of these refinements. Teachers quickly stepped in to explain. Lin Ruoxue's words were correct. Most students simply lacked the physical foundation to pursue such advanced refinement. The audience understood. The first-grade entry milestone they had admired so much was merely the very starting line. Lin Ruoxue then turned her gaze toward Chun-Yi. Her red lips parted. Chun-Yi, do you see this? This is the insurmountable divide between you and me. Ending our engagement was never a loss for me. It was a timely choice. Chun-Yi fell silent. Could this really not end? Zhao Kun taunted him nonstop, at least treating it like a proper job. Where had this woman come from? Watching Lin Ruoxue's grand display, Chun-Yi felt thoroughly exasperated. He nodded repeatedly. Fine, fine. You are amazing. Your whole family is amazing. I concede, all right. Lin Ruoxue met his unfazed response with a cold tone. The martial arts college entrance exam draws near. My exam results will drive home exactly how huge our gap is. You are destined to live out an ordinary, unremarkable life. Without another word, she turned and walked off the training ground. Chun-Yi was left speechless. She had only come to show off. Long after Lin Ruoxue departed, the crowd remained stirred up. Zhang Handong stood and gestured for quiet. His loud voice boomed across the grounds. Silence. This placement assessment has officially concluded. The training ground grew still. All students stood in neat formation, eyes fixed on the viewing platform. The top 10 scorers will be added to the school's key training list. Starting this month, each will receive 3 Kiblood pills monthly, plus priority access to school resources. Additionally, Top 10 students may select one free yellow rank martial arts manual. Cheers erupted. Kiblet pills. 3 every month. Those are scarce resources that cost a fortune on the market. Free yellow rank arts too. That is an incredible benefit. Envy shown on countless students' faces. After letting the excitement settle, Zhang Handong spoke again. I have an important tournament to announce. In 20 days' time, high schools across Jiangxing will jointly host the Citywide Martial Arts League tournament. The Citywide League, a cross-school competition offering a grand stage to earn renown across the whole city. The tournament will take place inside the Outer Wilderness Monster Trial Zone. Teams of 3 will be assigned randomly by the system. No self-selection or team member swapping is permitted. It will test real-world adaptability and teamwork. True geniuses shine brightest when thrust into difficult, mismatched team situations. Random team assignments inside monster-infested wilderness. Those few sentences ignited everyone's curiosity. Random matching meant you could end up paired with brilliant dark horse teammates or dead weight dragging you down. Random teams? That sounds thrilling. What if I get stuck with a weak teammate? We're finished. Monsters are deadly. Poor teamwork can easily lead to severe injury. Before long, conversation shifted toward Chen-Yi. Please don't let me get matched with Chen-Yi. Anything but being put on his team. The wilderness trial is dangerous enough. Bringing him along means fighting with one man short. Getting paired with Chen-Yi practically guarantees last place finishes. Whoever draws him as a teammate is out of luck. Pure deadweight. Everyone avoided Chen-Yi as though he carried a plague, terrified the random system would place them on the same squad. The assessment ended, and crowds dispersed. Chen-Yi completed his scheduled training for the day. Spurred by the excitement of the placement tests, students trained with far greater self-discipline. Even without teachers urging them, figures dotted the training ground. Time slipped by, and sunset arrived. Strength, 0.8, 0.9. Chen-Yi wiped sweat from his forehead. Finally, his strength had returned to its baseline level. He felt close to tears of relief. All his days of low-profile effort had borne fruit. What are you grinning about? Time to head home. Su Qingwan had appeared behind him without him noticing. Coming. Chen-Yi's mood was excellent. You kid. Su Qingwan shook her head. She had been watching him train from the school office building the whole afternoon. Seeing him push himself so relentlessly stirred something inside her. Watching the teenager bathed in sunset light, she drifted off for a moment. Once upon a time, she had trained just as hard. They did not talk further and headed back to Happiness Community as usual. Uncle Yi sat by the gate, absorbed in a book. Chen-Yi glanced at the cover. Working as a community security guard, I slay beast kings with one punch. Chen-Yi felt momentarily lost for words. Uncle Yi really had broad tastes in reading. Young man, you're back. He greeted Chen-Yi warmly. Chen-Yi smiled back. Still on duty reading today, Uncle Yi? Uncle Yi closed his book and yawned. Old folks enjoy these sorts of stories. All right then, enjoy your book. I'll head upstairs. He turned to follow Su Qingwan. Hold on a moment, young man. Don't rush off. Uncle Yi reached out and grasped Chen-Yi's wrist. His hands looked dry, rough, and feeble. Yet when Chen-Yi instinctively pulled away, he could not break free at all. Confused, Chen-Yi asked, Uncle Yi, what is it? Uncle Yi set his novel aside. He narrowed his cloudy old eyes and looked Chen-Yi up and down with great solemnity. Young man, your bone structure is extraordinary. You are one martial arts prodigy among 10,000. Chen-Yi replied. Tell me something I don't already know. Uncle Yi fell speechless for a second. Was the boy actually taking his compliment seriously? Still, seasoned by a long life, he quickly regained his composed demeanor. Young man, I wish to bestow a great opportunity upon you. Before Chen-Yi could respond, he pulled a yellowed, thin booklet out of the security booth drawer. It looked unremarkable, like cheap self-bound street literature. 2 crudely handwritten characters adorned the cover, dragon subduing. Uncle Yi pressed the booklet into Chen-Yi's hands, his expression profound and mysterious. I see great karmic fate between us. This exclusive inherited art is passed on to you at a bargain. Chen-Yi held the booklet, utterly confused. But the next second, his eyes lit up. A mighty figure passing down divine teachings? He knew this trope all too well. Chen-Yi's expression turned solemn at once. He received the booklet with both hands respectfully. I shall not betray this mission. I shall carry on your will and stride across the myriad realms. Old man Yi. Awkward silence hung in the air. Is this kid out of his mind? Old man Yi's features stiffened. Aren't you supposed to be skeptical and bombard me with questions first? Then I would display my power and pull off a perfect grand reveal. Why isn't this brat following the script? Old man Yi cleared his throat, forcing composure and putting on an air of dignity. Ahem. Good, admirable ambition. Yet, as you well know, martial arts must not be given away lightly. As for compensation, just give me 10 yuan as a token gesture. Old Man Yi closed his eyes and pulled out his phone, displaying a payment QR code. Yet no crisp payment notification chimed for a long time. Bewildered, he opened his eyes. Chun Yi was already long gone, leaving only a faint dashed outline where he had stood. Old Man Yi. Good grief, morals have truly decayed in this world. He took a heaven-ranked martial art manual and would not even cough up 10 yuan. He huffed and puffed, muttering to himself, "You rascal, what I gave you is priceless." Out in the world, people would trade the lives of 10 martial kings just to get their hands on it. Chun Yi caught up with Su Qingwan. "Where were you just now?" Su Qingwan asked. "Old Man, you said I have extraordinary bones and bestowed upon me a supreme mystic art." He answered honestly, waving the small booklet right in front of Su Qingwan. Su Qingwan fell silent for a moment, not knowing what to say. Oh well, let him be. It was almost endearing how gullible he could be. That Old Man Yi loved teasing naive youngsters. Back home, Chun Yi slipped on slippers. He could not wait to open dragon subjugation. As a transmigrator, Chun Yi suspected Old Man Yi was far more than he seemed. He could not quite put his finger on why. It was merely his gut feeling. Chun Yi rubbed his hands together in anticipation. He flipped open the first page, only to be dumbfounded. Damn it, it's in English? Pages upon pages were filled with unfamiliar letters. He could not understand a single word. Only the illustrations made any sense to him. Far away in the security booth, Old Man Yi held a thermos and gazed toward the building where Chun Yi had gone upstairs. He murmured softly to himself, 360 apertures, peerless comprehension. I deliberately raised the difficulty for you. Only through painstaking, line-by-line study can you gain deeper insight. Study hard, boy. Chun Yi. I wish those foreigners would vanish. Days slipped into quiet routine. Chun Yi trained daily, attended classes, and returned to Su Qingwan's place to puzzle over the so-called secret manual. Zhao Kuan and his lackeys still showed up on schedule to jeer at him. When Chun Yi was in a good mood, he ignored them. When irritated, he shot sharp retorts back. Lin Ruoxue did not appear again. Troubles within the Chun household died down, and Chun Yi gradually faded from their attention. Every high school across Jiangcheng was swept up in tense preparation. Word of the Jiangcheng Martial Arts League, 20 days away, spread across streets and alleys. Geniuses from every school would compete against one another. The upcoming event weighed heavily on every martial arts student's mind. The training grounds at number 1 high school stayed packed from dawn till dusk. Fist winds howled, and the constant crash of strikes echoed everywhere. Students granted elite training privileges received 3 chi blood pills each month and had picked yellow-ranked martial arts manuals. They trained with desperate fervor. Zhao Kuan was among them. He spent every day at the training grounds polishing Thunderbolt Fist. His aura grew stronger day by day. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. On the 9th day, at 11:50 p.m., after finishing 3 sets of push-ups, Chun Yi silently rose from the floor. Open status panel. Name, Chun Yi, bone age, 18, chi blood, 0, strength, 1.1, combat power, 0.7, evaluation, street-level common folk. His strength had finally hit 1.1. Staring at that long-awaited number, Chun Yi's heart surged with excitement. Finally. Ha 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 ha. He. He laughed aloud. 10 days of brutal self-inflicted training were about to pay off. No, I must not celebrate yet. Chun Yi forcibly stifled his spreading grin. He was still far from invincibility. Good tea must steep slowly. Haste ruins the flavor. Seconds ticked by. The instant the minute hand struck 12. Ding. Along with the tolls signaling the arrival of a new day, Tindui period complete. Strength automatically squared. Strength 1.11.21. Chun Yi crossed a historic threshold. Warm, scorching currents instantly coursed through every limb and meridian. Faint as they were, they brought immense comfort. This was what it felt like to grow stronger. Phew. He exhaled deeply, holding back surging excitement. All he needed now was time, and he would stand unrivaled beneath heaven. In high spirits, Chun Yi picked up dragon subjugation once more. Over 7 days, he had painstakingly translated the whole book, scribbling Chinese notes beneath each passage. It had cost him enormous effort. He had hoped to use translation software, only to discover the text was written in classical Chinese. Chun Yi had no choice but to decipher it word by word. Blessed with fully unlocked 360 apertures, he gained a rough grasp of the martial arts core principles. Excerpts from Dragon Subjugation. Martial arts are not merely techniques of the flesh, power of ki blood, nor transformations of apertures. Strength fades, Qi wanes, bodies decay, realms have limits. Only will, unbroken by humiliation, unshaken in peril, undestroyed by calamity, may rise above all myriad laws. Martial practitioners of the world chase superficial gains. They temper skin for armor, flesh for force, bones to withstand blows, blood to build momentum. Yet they fail to see heaven binds physical power, not the heart. Martial arts restrain the body, never the spirit. Reading this far, Chun Yi felt utterly perplexed. Who on earth writes manuals in classical Chinese? From what he gathered, this was no combat technique. It was a method to forge one's will. This will was named dragon subjugation. What did it mean to subjugate a dragon? Dragons symbolized heavenly prodigies, overwhelming tides of fate, and destiny itself. Most mortals cowered before prodigies, feared great tides, submitted to fate. Their will wavered with circumstance, their spirits crumpled under disgrace. One who truly cultivated this would never bow before the powerful, never cower before nobility, never sink into despair amid humiliation. Chun Yi flipped straight to the final 2 pages. The first bore a vivid painting of a divine dragon. Its jet-black scales were etched with golden patterns. Its thousand-zong body loomed amid swirling primordial chaos. Small annotations lined the margin. First layer. Observe the dragon, establish resolve. Gaze upon the divine dragon, bear its majestic aura. Let the august power of the celestial dragon scour the cowardice from mortal bones. This is dragon might heart suppression. Chun Yi fixed his gaze on the painted dragon and instantly sank into visualization. In an instant, an ancient, boundless dragon might wrapped around his soul. Vast cloud seas unfolded before his eyes. Mist churned, and a colossal dragon had emerged. Roar! A dragon's roar shook heaven and earth. Chun Yi's spirit trembled, as though the overwhelming pressure would shatter him apart. Ordinary warriors would have their Dao hearts shattered right there. Some would collapse in terror and kowtow. Others would fall prey to demonic deviation. But Chun Yi's 360 apertures stood wide open. His mind remained pure and clear. He faced the surging dragon might without the slightest discomfort. Time flowed onward. The roar faded, and roiling cloud seas calmed. The thousand-zhong black dragon stopped its fury, coiling silently amid the mists. Chun Yi's spirit stood unyielding within the vision. A wisp of faint dragon might branded itself deep within his will. He pulled himself out of the visualization. A subtle shift came over his bearing. Careless frivolity vanished from his brows, replaced by quiet authority. This manual? Chun Yi stared in shock. He had heard of such practices before. Su Qingwan had lectured on them in class, visualization arts. Unlike standard combat techniques, they followed a different path, focusing entirely on tempering martial will. Every genuine visualization art was classified as heaven-ranked. Only martial saints could compose them. They carried a saint's profound understanding of martial arts, paired with priceless visionary illustrations. Such arts were priceless treasures, beyond any amount of gold. Holy hell, that old man really is a martial saint. Chun Yi had assumed old man Yi rambled about past glories for fun. It turned out he was recalling his real memories. Realizing what a treasure he possessed, Chun Yi's eyes blazed. Eagerly, he turned to the second page. No dragon was painted here. Instead, a sky-covering giant hand stretched across the scroll. Its 5 fingers loomed like mountains, slowly closing as if to cradle all creation within its grasp. Second layer. Subdue the dragon, contain its might. Do not conquer through brute force. Subdue through will alone. All that seeks to oppress you shall be subdued by this single hand. Heaven and earth shifted. Cloud seas reversed. An endless, colossal hand descended out of the void, covering the 8 wastelands. The thousand-zhong black dragon, whose aura had shaken heaven a moment ago, flashed with alarm. It roared furiously, tearing space apart. Golden patterns blazed across its whole body. Its massive form thrashed through cloud seas, desperate to flee. Yet the descending giant hand's power was unstoppable. No matter how wildly it struggled and howled, it was no stronger than an ant shaking a tree. In the next instant, the giant hand's fingers clamped shut, seizing the thousand-zhong dragon's body. It captured and refined it in an instant. Chun Yi slowly opened his eyes. A glint of brilliant golden light flickered deep within his pupils. At the same time, the once ferocious painted dragon dimmed. The divine giant hand lost its supernatural glow, reduced to ordinary ink on paper. Chun Yi sat motionless for a long while. So what practical good does this do? He stroked his chin. The 2 visions had been spectacular, yet they granted no tangible boost to his combat strength. His ki blood remained 0, and his strength was barely above an average mortal's. I will go ask old man Yi tomorrow. Chen Yi put the booklet away. Regardless, it had been well meant on the old man's part. He pulled out a small notebook and jotted old man Ye's name under the good-hearted folk heading. Finished, he glanced out at the deep night and decided to get some much-needed sleep. A heavy weight lifted from his heart, and he felt greatly relieved. Yet barely had he laid down when he heard strange noises coming from Su Qingwan's bedroom. Muffled, pained groans drifted through the door. Chen Yi. His ears pricked up. It definitely came from Su Qingwan's room. What was going on in the middle of the night? Intermittent sounds of suffering seeped out toward the living room. Chen Yi. He felt uneasy, his heart thumping. Sighing, Chen Yi got up and walked over to her bedroom door. He knocked gently. Who's there? A startled, flustered voice rang out from inside. Teacher Su, are you all right? Chen Yi whispered softly through the door. All noise from the room ceased abruptly. The rustle of shifting fabric followed. Stay where you are, I'm fine. Su Qingwan's voice trembled as she fought through obvious pain. Go back to the sofa and leave me be. Are you certain you are okay? I'm fine. She ground out through gritted teeth. Very well then. Chen Yi returned to the sofa. 10 days of living together had brought them much closer. Su Qingwan no longer guarded against him as she had at the start. At home, she often wore loose nightgowns, moving freely about the apartment. Next morning, Chen Yi got up with heavy dark circles beneath his eyes. He had barely slept a wink. Su Qingwan's painful groans had continued late into the night. He had lain awake, filled with worry. After breakfast, Su Qingwan still had not emerged from her room. School would start soon. Chen Yi knocked on her door once more. Teacher Su, are you still inside? I am. Her voice came out weak. Chen Yi, classes are about to begin. I know. I'm taking the day off. I won't go in today. After that, silence fell again. Chen Yi frowned and headed off to school alone. He had come to understand Su Qingwan's fiercely proud personality. She hated displaying weakness or appearing wretched before others. Further prying would only annoy her. Jiangxing No. 1 High School. Chen Yi walked toward the school gates. Someone was already waiting for him from afar. It was Zhao Kuan, flanked by his 2 permanent lackeys. Spotting Chen Yi approaching, one lackey quickly pointed. Boss, look. Chen Yi's here. HM finally shows up. Zhao Kuan, who had been dozing off, jerked his head up. As Chen Yi drew near, he adopted a haughty, arrogant posture. Chen Yi, you good for naught, cut it out. Chen Yi raised a hand, cutting him off impatiently. Zhao Kuan, can you get any more annoying? You camp out by the gate every single day just to mock me. My ears are practically calloused. Can't you pick on someone else? Why must you fixate only on me? How dare you? One lackey jumped forward. Our boss mocking you is an honor. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Exactly. Only the boss bothers wasting time on you. Anyone else would ignore you completely. Once league random team assignments roll around, whoever draws you will be unlucky. You are nothing but dead weight for your teammates. Too much trouble dealing with you. Chen Yi rolled his eyes and walked straight past them toward the gate. Oh, so you dare ignore our boss? Stop right there. One lackey grew indignant. He reached out and placed a hand on Chen Yi's shoulder. Get off me. Chen Yi glanced back and spoke coldly. That single glance sent chills racing down the young man's spine. In his eyes, Chen Yi's ordinary black pupils transformed. They became cold, narrow, golden-tinged vertical slits. The vision zoomed in. Those slitted eyes expanded larger and larger, from an inch to 10 feet to 100 feet, until they became the all-seeing gaze of a primeval dragon. That gaze was frigid, detached, viewing all living things as trivial ants. His mind went blank. His legs buckled, and he crashed straight onto his knees. Hey, what's wrong with you? The second lackey stared in shock and hurried to drag his kneeling companion back to his feet. Zhao Kuan frowned, thoroughly confused. From his perspective, Chen Yi had merely glanced backward, and his subordinate had dropped to his knees. The kneeling boy shook violently. His face was deathly pale, cold sweat streaming down his forehead. He babbled incoherently. Dragon, there is a dragon. Zhao Kuan knitted his brows. What are you rambling about? Take him to the infirmary. Hope nothing serious is wrong. Chen Yi observed for a moment, then turned and left. He had learned that ability from Old Man Yi earlier that morning. When Chen Yi asked questions, Old Man Yi had not held back. He admitted his true identity, a reclusive, aged martial saint. He had heard of Chen Yi's 360 fully open apertures by chance. Curiosity had driven him to bestow the heaven-ranked manual. He had not expected Chen Yi to grasp its basics so quickly. As Old Man Yi had explained, visualization arts touched upon the fundamental essence of martial power, embodying a martial saint's path. Take dragon subjugation will for example. At its highest mastery, One could materialize phantoms of the true dragon and the sky-covering giant hand. These were tangible manifestations of Saint-tier martial aura. They could borrow the overwhelming momentum of dragon subjugation to vastly amplify combat power. Even more terrifying was the will's effect upon martial artists' Dao hearts. On the martial path, one's inner heart came first. Anyone with shaky resolve would be stricken with dread facing dragon subjugation's pressure. Milder cases, like the lackey just now, lost all will to fight and collapsed to their knees. Severe cases suffered shattered Dao hearts. Their cultivation would never advance again. They would linger in a permanent daze for the rest of their lives. Chen Yi thought it absolutely awe-inspiring. This morning's little test had proven the point. He had not even thrown a punch, yet the boy had crumpled to his knees. Heaven-ranked arts were far too overpowered for these barely awakened high school students. After that minor episode by the school gate, Chen Yi made his way to the classroom. Since Su Qingwan was unwell, there would be no theoretical lecture today. Self-study hour was loosely supervised. Students clustered in small groups chatting. Have you heard? They transported live magical beasts on a campus today. We are going to have real beast combat drills, one boy whispered excitedly. At those words, surrounding students crowded around him. Most had only seen magical beasts in online videos. None had fought one in real life. Footage online was heavily edited. Nothing compared to witnessing these creatures in person. Are they truly wild ones from the wilderness? Not domesticated specimens. A girl's eyes lit up. Absolutely real. I passed the training grounds just now and heard them roaring inside. I've seen documentaries online. I recognize black-claw wolves and scale-skin rats. I wonder what beasts we will face today. Some brimmed with anticipation, while others felt nervous. Videos look manageable, but what if I freeze up face-to-face? Even through a screen, those creatures look ferocious. What is there to fear? We are martial artists. Low-rank magical beasts should pose little threat. When the League sends us into the wilderness, we will have to fight them anyway. Better to get used to it early. Students chattered animatedly, mimicking fighting stances and imagining knocking beasts flat to draw everyone's admiration. When theory period ended, the classroom speakers crackled to life. Notice for Martial Arts Class 3. Proceed to the training grounds in 10 minutes for live magical beast combat training. Finally, let's go. I want to see what magical beasts really look like. Students streamed out of the classroom. Several eager youngsters broke into a run. They arrived at the training grounds. Combat instructor Wang Gang waited by the entrance. Rows of thick alloy cages lined the open field. Dense steel bars reinforced each cage, bolted firmly to the ground to prevent captive beasts from breaking free. The students fell quiet, their eyes wide with curiosity as they peered inside the enclosures. In the outermost cage rested a black-claw wolf nearly as large as a sedan car. Thick jet-black fur covered its powerfully coiled muscles. Its razor-sharp claws scraped continuously against metal bars, producing shrill, grating screeches. The neighboring cage held an unnaturally oversized hare. Standing upright, it was almost as tall as a grown man. Its long ears flattened backward. Massive hind legs tensed. Crimson eyes locked onto the watching students. Further inside, several scaleskin rats occupied other cages. Many times larger than ordinary rats, they sported pointed snouts and sharp fangs. They darted back and forth, emitting shrill, piercing squeaks. Whoa, this black-claw wolf is massive. It didn't look nearly this bulky in the videos. Several girls huddled at the back, equal parts frightened and curious. And what about that rabbit? Is that really a rabbit? It's absurd. One kick from those hind legs could shatter bones, right? No wonder they're demonic beasts. They're an entirely different species from ordinary wild animals. The scalehide rats look small, but seeing them packed together is creepy. I've read online that scalehide rat fangs can bite through steel plates. Everyone fears swarms of them during the league matches. I'm finally seeing them alive today. I'm picking one to spar with later. Don't talk big. You can barely slaughter a chicken yourself. Everyone stared at the restless beasts inside the cages, excitement tinged with tension on their faces. Within this star system, humanity and demonic beasts had long been locked in bitter conflict. Yet martial arts were overwhelmingly powerful in this era, putting humans at an advantage in their standoff against the beasts. Many people would go their entire lives without laying eyes on a real demonic beast. As for the beasts roaming the wilderness, powerful human fighters deliberately left them there to temper the younger generation. After all, humanity's gaze stretched far beyond this star system, toward the countless races scattered across the cosmos. Wang Gang stepped forward and spoke in a solemn tone. Listen closely. All the beasts here today are low-grade, unranked variants, the most common kind found in the wilderness. They closely match the opponents you will face in the league matches. The Blacklaw Wolf boasts explosive strength. The Red-Eye Rabbit is extremely fast, adept at sneak attacks with kicking strikes. Scalehide rats live in packs and are cunning. He pointed toward the beast cages and warned them. Your cultivation levels are low, and some of you haven't even met the baseline strength requirements. Don't aim for quick kills. Focus on stabilizing your mindset. Remember the first rule of real combat: protect yourself. Only those who survive stand a chance at victory. I will demonstrate key combat techniques first. The students instantly fell silent, all eyes fixed on the arena. Wang Gang gestured to the staff to slide open the Blacklaw Wolf's cage door. Click. A gap opened in the heavy alloy barrier. The Blacklaw Wolf lying dormant within flew into a rage in an instant. Its pitch-black body lunged outward. Powerful limbs whipped up gusts of wind as the massive beast charged straight at him, bared fangs carrying a putrid stench. The students instinctively held their breath. Faced with the charging predator, Wang Gang remained calm, standing his ground without dodging. Blood energy condensed around his body, and a faint metallic sheen surfaced across his skin. Diamond physique. Watch carefully, he said steadily. His feet planted firmly like bedrock, his body hardened as forged iron. The wolf's claws slammed hard against his chest. Boom. A dull crash echoed out. No gash appeared as everyone expected. The claws struck the skin reinforced by diamond physique, sending tiny sparks flying without leaving even a faint mark. The wolf's paws stung from the impact. The Blacklaw Wolf let out a pained snarl, stumbling backward in shock, confusion shining in its eyes. Having endured the attack, Wang Gang began explaining in real time. The Blacklaw Wolf's greatest advantage is its instantaneous burst power. Its sharp claws are deadly to new fighters without body fortification techniques. Your blood energy is weak, and your flesh is ordinary. Never block a frontal pounce head-on. Before he finished speaking, the Blacklaw Wolf surged forward once more. It twisted its head sideways, aiming its jaws straight for Wang Gang's vulnerable neck. Wang Gang sank his shoulder, concentrating the glow of diamond physique there, and rammed sideways. Iron Mountain Charge. Another thunderous collision resounded. The massive recoil force twisted the wolf's head off kilter, throwing its whole body off balance. Demonic beasts fight with reckless, lethal tactics, every strike targeting vital spots. Stay calm in combat. The fiercer the beast, the more obvious its weaknesses become. Wang Gang moved unhurriedly, placing a palm atop the wolf's back and pressing down with concentrated strength. It has tremendous explosive power, but its torso is cumbersome. After successive charges, its waist and abdomen briefly stiffen. That is your opening to strike. He channeled strength through his palm and pushed down hard. Thick blood energy combined with diamond physique pinned the ton-heavy Blacklaw Wolf firmly to the ground, unable to move. The beast thrashed and roared wildly, yet could not shift Wang Gang an inch. The students watched, utterly stunned. The intimidating Blacklaw Wolf was as docile as a domestic dog under their teacher's control, powerless to resist. He continued his lesson, his voice carrying across the grounds. Diamond physique prioritizes physical defense and steady endurance, ideal for directly engaging low-grade demonic beasts. Without high-tier body protection arts, you must learn to evade blows and exploit weaknesses. Bear this in mind. Unranked demonic beasts are dangerous due to their ferocity, but weak because they lack patience. They cannot sustain prolonged fights. Keep your composure, outlast their burst phase, and your odds of victory will surge. As he spoke, he relaxed his grip and gave a light shove. Bursting power sent the Blacklaw Wolf rolling several meters, crashing clumsily against the cage wall. Wang Gang stood with hands behind his back. You all see that? In the early stages of martial combat, victory rarely comes from brute force clashes. Skill is what matters. Of course, I can afford to tank hits for simplicity's sake. Do not try to copy me. The students fell speechless. As if we even could. Wang Gang turned toward the group and said seriously, "You will take turns entering the arena next. I will stand guard nearby. Anyone who recklessly overestimates themselves and gets injured will receive no support from the school." Who's first? Several boys exchanged glances, raising their hands eagerly. "Teacher, I'll go." A short-haired youth stood and hurried into the enclosed fighting zone. Wang Gang nodded at him. "Good. We train to face danger. Don't embarrass yourself." The cage door opened. The Blacklaw Wolf let out a low growl and lunged forward in a blur of shadow. The rank stench washed over him, making him hold his breath involuntarily. Staring at the wolf's savage features, the short-haired youth froze. Much of his courage evaporated on the spot. All the techniques he had memorized vanished from his mind. Daring not to block the attack, he tensed his body and darted sideways, barely evading the pounce. Seizing the brief window after the wolf's charge, he flailed his arms wildly, throwing wild punches at the beast. Bang! Bang! His blows landed harmlessly on the wolf's thick fur, and the shock of the encounter sent him scrambling backward. Stay steady. Read its rhythm. Wang Gang called out guidance. Sweat poured down the youth's face as he panicked. I can't do it, teacher. Its hide is too tough. Nonsense. Did I teach you that? Its weak point is its lower back. Why are you punching its stomach? Are you trying to aid its digestion? The youth's movements grew erratic, defending purely by instinct. Seconds later, overwhelmed by mounting anxiety, he fled outside the combat boundary. He scratched his head awkwardly. Sorry, teacher. I just got too nervous. Wang Gang nodded. It's normal. Next, the second boy stepped forward hesitantly. Watching the teacher fight had felt thrilling, but standing face to face with the thousand-gene predator, the overwhelming aura of bloodlust shattered his focus. All the evasion tactics he had rehearsed emptied from his mind. His legs locked stiff, rooted to the spot, unable to even lift his arms to defend himself. Move. Dodge. Wang Gang shouted a warning. The boy jolted, throwing himself backward in a clumsy tumble. Anyone familiar with fighting beasts knew falling or crouching was the worst possible move. Such postures signaled weakness to them, spurring them to attack relentlessly. Seeing this, the Blacklaw wolf's eyes blazed with ferocity. It lowered its body, pushed off with its front paws, and pounced toward the fallen boy. Fangs drew near, and the students watching outside cried out. It's going to get him. Hurry, get up. Terror surged through the boy, igniting a desperate survival instinct. Forget all techniques. He threw a wild punch straight toward the wolf's jaws. Don't bite me. Don't bite me. His voice warbled with fear. Smack. His arm collided against the wolf's cheek with pitiful force. Not only did it fail to injure the beast, it fully enraged it. The Blacklaw wolf twisted its head, swatting him off balance and nearly sending him crashing to the ground again. Wang Gang frowned sharply from the sidelines and raised his voice. Never drop to the ground. Fall before a demonic beast, and you hand your life to it. Control your breathing. It's fast but clumsy when turning. Sidestep and create distance. Teacher, I can't hold on any longer. Tears welled in the boy's eyes. Just as the fangs were about to brush his uniform, Wang Gang flashed into the arena. He moved steadily, positioning himself between the boy and the wolf. As the Blacklaw wolf charged, he pressed one hand against its head. A heavy wave of force crashed down. The ferocious beast that had run rampant moments earlier was pinned to the ground, kicking its legs futilely without rising. Step back and rest, Wang Gang said flatly. The boy fled the arena as if pardoned, his uniform soaked through with cold sweat. Wang Gang casually pushed the Blacklaw wolf back into its cage and secured the lock. He turned toward the class and shook his head helplessly. Do you all understand now? The worst mistake in combat is losing your nerve. Once panic sets in, even thoroughly practiced techniques become useless. The students lowered their heads, no one daring to argue. Everyone had witnessed it clearly. Every student who stepped into the arena flailed blindly, unable to bring even half of their usual training into play. As the mood turned somber, a mocking laugh echoed from the rear. A bunch of weaklings who can't even subdue low-grade demonic beasts. All heads turned toward Zhao Kuan, who strolled forward. He carried an arrogant air, sweeping his gaze over his flustered classmates. Undisguised contempt was in his eyes. You boast constantly about mastering arts and making rapid progress, yet face a single beast and cower like frightened quails, throwing nothing but wild punches. Even a mere unranked Blacklaw wolf manages to chase you all into retreat. I wonder what you practice every single day. One of his remaining lackeys immediately chimed in. Exactly. What an embarrassment. You're all martial arts students, yet lack even this much courage. If our boss stepped up, he could crush this dumb wolf with ease. The students' faces alternated between red and pale. They burned with frustration, yet had no retort. Their performances just now had truly been terrible, leaving them no ground to defend themselves. TCH, no need to mock others. You'd be the same, someone muttered quietly. Wang Gang frowned. Zhao Kuan, spare the snide remarks. Nervousness during the first real combat is perfectly normal. Normal? Zhao Kuan raised an eyebrow, sneering. Teacher, that's just their weakness, not normal. Martial cultivation builds courage. If you cannot defeat a Blacklaw wolf, you'll die instantly once you enter the Wilderness League matches. He tilted his chin toward the beast cage, his tone supremely arrogant. If none of you can do it, I'll show you. Let me demonstrate what genuine combat looks like. Frankly speaking, every single one of you here is mediocre. Without waiting for Wang Gang's approval, Zhao Kun strode straight into the enclosed arena, radiating overwhelming confidence. He glanced sideways at Chun Yi and deliberately spoke loud enough for everyone to hear, especially certain people hiding at the back watching. A zero blood energy, invalid body. You'll probably never qualify to step into the arena and face a beast in your life. He ignored everyone afterward, standing tall and calling toward the staff. Open the cage. The staff pressed the switch. Clank. The alloy gate swung open. Infuriated from the earlier skirmishes, the Blacklaw wolf burst forward the moment the barrier lifted. A shadow descended, imposing and terrifying. Yet Zhao Kun, standing at the center of the arena, did not shift an inch, his face full of disdain. Flashy nonsense. He let out a cold scoff. Blood energy roiled around him, releasing the aura of a first-rank warrior. The muscles in his arms tensed, strength gathering at his fist, accompanied by a low whistling of displaced air. Thunderstrike fist. He refused to dodge, throwing his fist straight toward the charging Blacklaw wolf. Boom. Fist power exploded, shaking the air with thunderous resonance. The wolf could not halt its momentum. Its massive skull collided directly with his fist. Bang! Crushing strength surged through the beast's body. The Blacklaw wolf lost its balance, letting out a shrill howl as it went flying backward. Its heavy body slammed into the cage wall, sending reverberations ringing out. Dazed and dizzy, the wolf collapsed by the cage entrance, gasping heavily. It dared not advance another step, growling warily at Zhao Kun. One strike. Only a single Thunderstrike fist was enough to overwhelm the Blacklaw wolf that had routed every other student. Whoa, that's insane. He sent it flying with one blow. Is this the strength of a first-rank warrior? The gap is enormous. The students who had suffered defeat stared in awe. Faced with the same Blacklaw wolf, Zhao Kun achieved effortless dominance. The difference was plain to see. His lackey shouted triumphantly. You see this? This is our boss's power. You are not on the same level at all. Zhao Kun lowered his fist, his breathing steady, as if the overwhelming blow had required barely any effort. He glanced sideways at the whole class, a mocking smirk on his lips. I told you are far too weak. Watch closely and learn. Chun Yi. You may never get the chance to experience combat of this caliber. Wang Gang watched the clean, decisive strike, a hint of approval appearing in his eyes as he nodded. Excellent form on the Thunderstrike fist. Well, controlled blood energy, no reckless overextension. Impressive. Zhao Kun was arrogant, yet powerful enough to back up his attitude. Round after round of sparring concluded. Every student in the class took their turn for practical training. Some dodged frantically, some barely managed to defend themselves, and a small number succeeded in landing hits. Wang Gang looked over the group and nodded. Very well. Everyone has completed practical training for today. We will wrap up the session. He was cut off by a voice ringing out across the arena. Teacher, one person hasn't trained yet. Zhao Kun lifted a hand and pointed toward Chun Yi at the back. Every gaze in the room swiveled over. Zhao Kun said. Everyone in class took a turn. Why should Chun Yi get special treatment? He stood in the background watching the entire time. Why is he exempted from training? The league matches use random team assignments. If he drags the whole squad down, who will bear the consequences? That's right. No special privileges. Even if he's weak, he has to join the training. Wang Gang's expression darkened, shaking his head in refusal. No. He spoke sternly. I'm not worried about the others, but Chun Yi absolutely cannot enter the arena. Everyone else, weak as they are, possesses basic blood energy to shield their bodies. Even if they lose, they can dodge and protect themselves. Chun Yi's physical condition is inferior to ordinary civilians. Demonic beasts act without restraint. Even if I stand guard constantly, there is no guarantee accidents won't happen. If the wolf strikes while my attention slips, Chun Yi cannot withstand a single bite. The outcome would be severe injury, or even death. Zhao Kun refused to back down, egging everyone on in a sarcastic tone. Teacher, rules can be flexible. All of us risked ourselves to train honestly. Why should he get to relax and watch? That isn't fair. Besides, he will have to face the Wilderness League matches sooner or later. If he refuses to train now, he will only burden his teammates later. Zhao Kun, don't push this too far. Wang Gang frowned, his expression turning grim. Few students dared to shout and stir trouble during his lessons, but Zhao Kun was an exception. Zhao Kun's father Zhao Wuji, master of Thunder Martial Hall, was a genuine sixth-rank warrior in his prime with vigorous blood energy. Even the Chun and Lin families of Jiangqing tread carefully around him, never mind a mere teacher like Wang Gang. That did not mean Wang Gang intended to let Zhao Kun do whatever he wanted. After all, the school fell under Federation jurisdiction. Thunder Martial Hall was merely a private business in the Federation's eyes. The government could shut it down if they chose. Zhao Kuan understood this well enough. Seeing Wang Gang grow angry, he retreated reluctantly. Still, his words had planted doubt in the hearts of every witness. That's right. Why does Chun-Yi get to skip training? They fought and endured hardship up front, while that boy simply watched from the sidelines. It wasn't fair. Within this world, human hearts were unpredictable. Why should he get away with it? We stepped into the arena and endured beatings while he watches. We're all in the same class. How can there be exceptions? Doesn't he have the fighting spirit expected of martial arts students? Whispers spread among the crowd. No one stopped to consider whether Chun-Yi might be hurt. Human nature carried a dark side. They had all embarrassed themselves, so Chun-Yi ought to suffer humiliation too. Only witnessing someone far worse off could ease their own feelings of defeat. The boy who had nearly been bitten and broken into tears muttered quietly, "I almost got attacked, terrified out of my wits. He won't even enter the arena. What a coward." Several girls murmured in agreement. "It's just a trial. The teacher will be watching. What harm could come of it? He can't hide forever." The class chattered among themselves. They were certain Chun-Yi would shake with fear the moment he stepped into the arena, performing worse than anyone else present. People often cared less about excelling themselves and more about seeing others fall. Wang Gang listened to the growing murmurs, his brow tightly furrowed. He was about to roar for silence when a voice interrupted him. "Teacher Wang, I want to try." Chun-Yi stepped calmly out from the crowd. Wang Gang froze. "Chun-Yi, there's no need. Your unique physique makes this arena extremely dangerous for you." Chun-Yi smiled. "I know what I'm doing." He had held back for many days. This was the perfect chance to reveal his true strength in front of everyone, and he had no intention of letting it slip away. Ignoring Wang Gang's repeated attempts to dissuade him, Chun-Yi walked serenely into the combat zone. Unable to stop him, Wang Gang resolved to stay vigilant, ready to rush in and save him at any instant. "Hey, how long do you think he can last?" "I bet 3 seconds. He'll get scared stiff and start crying before that mark." "Haha, I say 5 seconds. He'll beg the teacher for help before 5 seconds pass." "Deal." Loser buys soda after evening self-study. Amid the noisy chatter, only Zhao Kuan looked uneasy. He stared intently at Chun-Yi standing in the arena. Something's off. Why would he agree to this? Zhao Kuan did not believe Chun-Yi was foolish enough to walk into obvious danger without reason. They had only jeered earlier to taunt Chun-Yi, never expecting him to actually step forward. Recalling how Chun-Yi had subdued his underling that morning, Zhao Kuan's gaze sharpened as it settled on Chun-Yi. Could he truly possess some hidden ability? Or was he deliberately playing the fool all along? Click. The cage swung open. The Blacklaw wolf, who had suffered repeated defeats moments ago, had learned its lesson. It lowered its body and cautiously poked out its head. The searing pain from being sent flying by Zhao Kuan still lingered in its bones. It dared not charge recklessly in a berserk frenzy again, and circled Chun-Yi warily. "See? The wolf isn't even going all out against him. It already has him figured out. The odds are stacked in our favor. We're about to make a fortune." Zhao Kuan stared grimly at the arena. The more he watched, the stranger things felt. As for Chun-Yi, the Blacklaw wolf circled him several times in probing passes. It found its target neither dodging nor striking, standing motionless as if waiting to be slain. After countless fruitless attempts, the lingering caution in the beast faded, and ferocity welled up once more. Its forepaws slammed hard against the ground, kicking up fine dust, and it let out a threatening roar. Having gathered its strength, the Blacklaw wolf's eyes blazed with malice as it charged straight for Chun-Yi. "It's coming. It's going to attack." Wang Gang's heart lurched, ready to rush in and intervene at any moment. Faced with the imminent pounce, Chun-Yi remained rooted to the spot. He did not even lift his eyelids, speaking softly, "Calm down." In an instant, an imperial dragon's might, towering above all beasts, descended upon the Blacklaw wolf. The Blacklaw wolf, filled with murderous intent, shuddered violently. Every hair on its body stood on end. A whimper of terror escaped its throat. Its eyes saw a human, yet its instincts screamed that the figure before it was nothing of the sort. In the wolf's sight, Chun-Yi's form stretched endlessly upward, reaching toward the heavens. A colossal dragon head emerged from the clouds, clad in jagged scales. When its draconic eyes opened and closed, divine power capable of crushing heaven and earth swept outward. The body it took such pride in shrank to the size of dust beside Chun-Yi. This was absolute suppression born from bloodline hierarchy. The massive wolf's frame crumpled to the ground. Its limbs trembled violently, teeth chattering, pressing itself flat against the earth. The Black Law Wolf did not even have the courage to lift its head and gaze upon the phantom dragon. Outside the enclosure, the crowd was so stunned their jaws nearly dropped. Was this the same Black Law Wolf that had terrified them moments earlier? How was it now crouching obediently at Chun-Yi's feet like a tame hound? I can't believe what I'm seeing. Is that really the ferocious Black Law Wolf? It chased us all over the arena just now, and now it's kneeling on the ground. How can it be this docile? Is it a wolf or a dog? Everyone rubbed their eyes, unable to trust the scene unfolding before them. Wang Gang was equally dumbfounded. After years of teaching, he had never witnessed anything like this. Once the initial shock faded, voices of consolation rose from the crowd. I get it now. It's not Chun-Yi's doing. It's all because of Zhao Kuen's punch, right? That thunderous strike hit far too hard and frightened the Black Law Wolf. It was already injured and traumatized. It instinctively fears any human figure now. Chun-Yi just happened to stand there. Pure luck. These words struck a chord with the rest. I knew it was impossible. How could Chun-Yi subdue a demonic beast? A coincidence, 100%. Anyone standing there would have gotten the same reaction. You scared me for a second. I truly thought Chun-Yi had hidden his strength. No one believed Chun-Yi was responsible. Acknowledging his prowess would mean admitting all of them were fools. Chun-Yi stepped forward slowly, looking down at the prostrate Black Law Wolf, lost in thought. Dragon's might carried an innate suppressing force over all demonic beasts. All creatures submit to scaled sovereigns. This suppression ignored cultivation levels, stemming from a fundamental disparity in life rank. Chun-Yi stretched out a hand and stroked the Black Law Wolf's head. The wolf grew utterly reverent, tucking its tail and leaning in to rub against his palm, letting out soft, ingratiating whines. Paired with its enormous frame, the noise rumbled like a V8 engine, creating a striking contrast. The onlookers' eyes nearly bulged out of their heads. Even if the Black Law Wolf had been terrified by Zhao Kuen, there was no reason for it to act so compliant. Where had its wild ferocity gone? Where was the savagery it displayed earlier? Fight him! One young man flushed and blurted out. Teacher, this isn't normal. How can a wild demonic beast voluntarily submit to a human? It completely defies logic. Teacher Wang, what exactly is going on? That's right. Black Law Wolves possess fierce wild instincts. Injury only makes them more violent, never tame. It was clearly trying to attack him a moment ago, yet after Chun-Yi touches its head, it acts like a domestic pet. Who exactly is Chun-Yi, some beast tamer? Wang Gang could find no explanation, his mind thrown into chaos. Decades of teaching had never prepared him for such a sight. He replayed the scene in his head again and again, growing increasingly perplexed. Zhao Kuen's punch had frightened the wolf, yet it could never erase the bloodlust of a ferocious demonic beast. He opened his mouth, mulling over possibilities, yet no reasonable explanation came to him. Faced with the flood of questions from his students, he suppressed the unease in his heart and said in a heavy tone, "This Black Law Wolf must be in an abnormal state. It sustained multiple wounds earlier and suffered extreme mental shock, leading to this unusual submissive behavior." The crowd remained skeptical, yet they soon accepted the explanation. So the wolf itself is malfunctioning. I thought as much. It couldn't possibly be Chun-Yi's influence. Traumatized out of its wits, no wonder its behavior is bizarre. Zhao Kuen watched the self-deceiving crowd with disdain. Are all these people blind? The Black Wolf's submission is clearly Chun-Yi's doing, yet they keep fooling themselves. Zhao Kuen knew his own limits. His punch carried great power, yet it could never render a Black Law Wolf senseless with fear. That left only one conclusion. Chun-Yi commanded an unknown power. This ability could make his underling freeze on his knees with a single glance, and even force a demonic beast to bow its head in surrender. Zhao Kuen felt he had uncovered an earth-shattering secret. He silently stepped back into the crowd. Chun-Yi, you may come out now. With no other choice, Wang Gang waved to bring the session to an end. Enough. This is merely an individual anomaly among demonic beasts, nothing worth dwelling on. There was little more to see after that. One after another, the students took on the red-eyed hares and scaled rats. The red-eyed hares possessed astonishing speed, darting to their targets in the blink of an eye, leaving almost no time to react. Many students fled clutching their heads, covered in bruises. Only the scaled rats proved easier opponents. They were small, with limited attack methods. While swarms of them could prove troublesome, only a handful were present here. The students finally got the chance to display their skills, easing the frustration they had felt earlier. Soon, the training drew to a close. Wang Gang spoke to summarize. Today's live combat laid the gaps in your abilities bare. Your greatest weakness is not insufficient strength, but terrible mental fortitude. In real wilderness combat, demonic beasts will never grant you time to steady your nerves. Only when you can remain calm amid crisis can you truly step onto the threshold of martial arts. When he finished speaking, every student bowed their heads to absorb his words. The teacher is absolutely right. We crumble mentally far too easily. Of course we do. Few of us have ever faced demonic beasts before. That red-eyed hair was unbelievably fast. The blow to my stomach still aches. Some sank into serious reflection. The Wilderness League is deadly real combat, not classroom drills. Without instructors to protect us, a broken mindset leads to severe injury or elimination. We must train relentlessly for the Wilderness League and avoid such humiliating performances in the future. Seeing his students awaken to their shortcomings, Wang Gang smiled with relief. Recognizing your flaws and striving to improve is the greatest progress. All of you have done well. Demonic beast combat training will continue daily from now on. I look forward to seeing your growth. We understand, teacher. The entire class replied in unison, their voices firm and powerful. The training concluded. After school, Chun-Yi headed alone back to Happiness Residential Quarter. Surprisingly, Zhao Kuan made no move to block his path today, leaving Chun-Yi feeling somewhat unaccustomed. This dragon subjugation art works well as a means of self-defense for now, Chun-Yi thought as he walked. Zhao Kuan's underling boasted impressive strength, with a vitality rating reaching 80 in the aptitude test, yet he could not withstand a single glance. Moreover, dragons might exert an even stronger effect on demonic beasts. Chun-Yi suspected that even first-order demonic beasts, while unlikely to grovel like the Black Claw wolf, would still be severely hampered in its presence. Old Man Yi had truly given him a great gift. He passed the security booth inside Happiness Residential Quarter. Old Man Yi still sat in his rocking chair reading a book. As a security guard, I suppressed an entire era in my youth. Chun-Yi fell silent. He strongly suspected the old man had written the novel himself. Spotting Chun-Yi, Old Man Yi lifted the book away from his face. You're back, young man. Where's Xiao Su? Why isn't she with you? Chun-Yi shook his head slightly. Teacher Su is unwell and took the day off. Unwell? Old Man Yi chuckled. That girl is still as stubborn as ever. Chun-Yi raised an eyebrow, curious. Old Man Yi, do you know what troubles Teacher Su? He had long been puzzled. A genius like Su Qingwan ought to be far more renowned. You want to know? Old Man Yi stared at Chun-Yi meaningfully. What? Planning to pursue your teacher? What kind of talk is that? Chun-Yi immediately adopted a solemn expression. I am an upright person and would never engage in improper conduct. Besides, Teacher Su has treated me kindly. Isn't it only right that I help her through her troubles? How thick can your skin get? Old Man Yi scoffed. Young people these days. If you admire her, just say so. No need to wrap it in lofty excuses. Chun-Yi replied. It's not mere admiration. When a fine bloom stands before me, would it not be a waste to overlook its beauty? Fine, fine. If you truly wish to hear it, I'll tell you. Old Man Yi waved his hand. Chun-Yi leaned forward, listening intently. Old Man Yi spoke slowly. From the moment she moved into this complex, I sensed the aura of a martial saint on her. Martial saint. Shock surged through Chun-Yi. He had never imagined Su Qingwan had ties to a martial saint. Old Man Yi held up 2 fingers. Naturally, that martial saint is still a notch below me. Likely a newly advanced martial saint, lacking experience and careless with their strikes. Chun-Yi fell quiet. That was not what he had asked about. So the old man was bragging about his own seniority? Old Man Yi, can we get back to the main subject? Chun-Yi reminded him. I am getting to it. That girl Su Qingwan took a direct strike from a martial saint's blade and suffered a hidden injury. Old Man Yi stated with certainty. She endured a strike from a martial saint? Chun-Yi's heart skipped a beat. A martial saint was no ordinary warrior. They stood atop the cultivation pyramid. They overlooked countless martial practitioners, capable of shaking mountains and rivers with a single gesture, deciding life and death with a thought. A strike from such an existence could slay a martial king instantly. Of course, compared to Chun-Yi in his later days, such power would amount to nothing. Su Qingwan had survived a direct blow from a martial saint. Old Man Yi nodded and continued. That martial saint must have held back, leaving her a thread of life, yet bringing endless tribulations. Do you remember the meditation visualization technique I gave you? Chun-Yi paused. Of course I do. The visualization technique was written by a martial saint, embedding their cultivated path within it, known as martial will or true intent. Once martial artists ascend to martial saint, every attack they unleash carries true intent. Martial true intent does not harm the flesh, it assaults the Tao heart. Even after external wounds heal, so long as the true intent lingers, cultivation cannot advance. That martial saint's true intent is etched within her body, eroding her Tao heart day and night, which explains her constant agony. I see. Chunyi frowned in contemplation. But why do you say she is stubborn? Old man Yi smiled faintly. Ah, you underestimate that girl. Martial true intent represents far more than power. It carries a legacy. Ordinary martial practitioners spend their whole lives barely glimpsing the surface of martial arts, never earning the right to touch true intent. Having a martial saint's true intent branded into you seems like torment, yet it is an opportunity countless cultivators would beg for. If Miss Su comprehends the true intent inside her, her martial path will soar, and she will undoubtedly become a martial saint one day. With her talent, this is far from impossible. Old man Yi sighed. Unfortunately, she is far too proud to accept that martial saint's inheritance. Once she comprehends the martial true intent, she will join that cultivator's lineage. Her entire martial journey will be confined within the boundaries set by another. Simply put, it would cap her potential. She chooses to forge her own path and refuses to submit and accept this unparalleled legacy handed to her. Yet a martial saint's will cannot be resisted so easily. In the end, her cultivation realm began to decline. After hearing the story, Chun-Yi remained silent for a long while. He was not thinking about Su Qingluan, but about himself. Suddenly, a realization struck him. Wait, old man Yi, you just said accepting a martial saint's true intent means joining their lineage, limiting your martial growth. That is correct, old man Yi nodded. Then what about me? Precisely. You are effectively my disciple now. Chun-Yi exclaimed, Hey, old man Yi, you tricked me. Old man Yi rolled his eyes, looking at Chun-Yi with contempt. A0, vitality physique like yours dares to complain? Did you think you possessed boundless potential? It is questionable whether you can even reach the initiated realm in your lifetime, let alone become a martial saint. He had to admit the harsh truth. Besides, he did not cultivate orthodox martial arts. He simply possessed extraordinary physical strength. Enough. Don't pester me any longer. Hurry over and check on your friend. Also, you can try channeling my dragon subjugation true intent. It may be able to help her. Old man Yi picked up his book again and waved Chun-Yi away. Chun-Yi thanked him before walking toward Su Qingluan's apartment. The house was deathly quiet, without a single sound. The door to Su Qingluan's bedroom remained tightly shut. Nothing in the living room had been touched. She had not stepped outside all day. Chun-Yi walked to the door and softened his tone. Teacher Su, would you like something to eat? I brought food. After he knocked, there was no response from within for a long time. Just as Chun-Yi prepared to speak again, the closed door was pulled open from the inside. A haggard figure stood in the doorway. Su Qingluan's long hair fell loosely around her shoulders. Her face was drained of color, and heavy dark shadows lingered beneath her eyes, as if she had endured several sleepless nights. She lifted her gaze to Chun-Yi, her voice hoarse. No need. I have no appetite. And do not speak of what happened last night to anyone, or I will not forgive you. With that, she turned to head back into her bedroom. Yet she stumbled halfway, her body swaying as she lurched backward. Chun-Yi reacted instantly, catching her from behind. Her soft, cool body pressed against his chest, and a faint, gentle fragrance unique to her drifted into his nostrils. The sudden contact made Su Qingluan stiffen all over. Her pupils constricted, and the tips of her ears flushed instantly. She struggled to pull away. Let go of me. But she was utterly exhausted, lacking the strength to break free. Her struggles achieved nothing. Chun-Yi maintained his hold gently. What do you intend to do, Chun-Yi? Su Qingluan grew anxious. Do not act recklessly. Sensing the firmness of his arms, panic welled up inside her. She was extremely vulnerable right now. If Chun-Yi chose to take advantage of the situation, she would be powerless to stop him. Chun-Yi leaned close to her ear and exhaled softly. What do you think I intend to do, Teacher Su? Su Qingluan's breathing grew erratic. Her earlobe was a sensitive spot, and Chun-Yi's whisper sent a tingle spreading through her entire body. Chun-Yi, step away from me. Watching her cheeks flush crimson, Chun-Yi's mood lightened. He had finally gotten a chance to tease her. Su Qingluan had playfully provoked him many times these past days, and Chun-Yi intended to return the favor. He drew even nearer, resting his chin lightly on her shoulder and speaking lazily. Teacher Su, in your current state, if I truly wanted to take advantage, would you be able to stop me? Su Qingluan's body tensed. Chun-Yi, I warn you one last time. Let go. If you do not release me, I will fight back. Fight back. Chun-Yi glanced down at her limp hands, unable to even clench into fists. Teacher Su can barely stand on her own. A blow from you would feel little more than a tickle. Su Qingwan bit her lower lip, her shoulders trembling slightly. Chun-Yi noticed her shaking and looked down. Her eyes had grown glistening. Thin tears clung to her eyelashes, stubbornly refusing to fall, her face etched with grievance. Chun-Yi's heart skipped a beat. Oh no, he had gone too far with the teasing. He quickly loosened his arms. Teacher Su, I'm sorry. I was only joking, don't cry. I am not crying. Su Qingwan spun around in an instant, staring at him with reddened eyes. Which of your eyes saw me crying? Chun-Yi met her watery gaze and said awkwardly, both of them. Su Qingwan grew furious and lifted her foot to kick him, yet her body swayed worse the moment she shifted her weight. Chun-Yi caught her once more without hesitation. Silence descended over the room. Chun-Yi. Su Qingwan ground her teeth in frustration. She deeply regretted bringing Chun-Yi to her home. Had she not invited him, she would not find herself in such a difficult predicament. Chun-Yi dropped the playful act. He supported her and guided her over to the sofa to sit down. Su Qingwan turned her head aside, refusing to look at him. Chun-Yi placed his hands on her shoulders and gave them a gentle massage. Don't be angry, Teacher Su. I was only joking around. I am not angry, she replied coldly. Standing behind Su Qingwan, Chun-Yi could catch sight of a hideous scar on her back. He took the chance to ask, Teacher Su, you suffered a severe injury once, didn't you? That has nothing to do with you, she answered coldly. Chun-Yi said, it was inflicted by a martial saint, wasn't it? As his voice faded, Chun-Yi clearly felt Su Qingwan's body tremble. She turned her head and stared at him in disbelief. How did you find out? I have never told a single soul. After offending a newly ascended martial saint of great influence, her file had been sealed, barring her from ever stepping foot inside any martial academy. A once peerless genius had vanished overnight. Chun-Yi was merely a student who had only recently opened his apertures. How could he possibly know about this? Chun-Yi smiled mysteriously. I met an expert. He told me everything. Impossible. Su Qingwan rejected the claim instantly. The wounds she bore were unique, invisible to ordinary eyes. Those who could perceive them would never speak of it openly. No one dared provoke a martial saint. Silence stretched through the living room. Doubts swirled endlessly inside Su Qingwan, yet she chose not to press him further. Her lips pressed tightly together, a storm of emotions stirring in her eyes, shock mixed with a trace of bitterness. So what even if you know? Her gaze dimmed. Do you intend to avenge me? That is not out of the question. Empty boasts. Su Qingwan scoffed. Avenge her? That opponent was a martial saint, one of the peak existences of the Federation, capable of traveling through starry skies and contending against myriad alien races. Setting aside whether victory was achievable, the Federation would never permit such an act, even for a personal grudge. Anyone who attacked a martial saint would be branded an enemy of humanity. No matter how powerful one person became, could they stand against more than a dozen martial saints, or even martial emperors? I do not dare hope for revenge. Su Qingwan murmured softly, years of repressed emotions spilling forth. I only wish to preserve my original aspirations, avoid being assimilated by his Tao inheritance, and live out the rest of my days in peace. She had abandoned a brilliant future, all to hold fast to her own Tao. If you can slay that martial saint, I will bow down and acknowledge your superiority right here. Su Qingwan hardened her tone and issued a bold challenge. Chun-Yi's eyes lit up. You said it yourself. So what? Nothing much. Teacher Su, do not go back on your word then. Su Qingwan let out a sneer. I always keep my promises. If you truly kill that martial saint, I will owe you any favor you name. Joy surged within Chun-Yi. What a rare opportunity presented itself. Let us set aside banter and attend to serious matters. He waved a hand, suppressing the grin on his face and forcing a composed expression. Su Qingwan shot him a glance. What serious business could you possibly have? Healing your injuries. Chun-Yi rested his hand on her shoulder. Teacher Su, look into my eyes. Do not resist. Su Qingwan instinctively met his gaze. The moment their eyes locked, light and shadow within the living room twisted abruptly before rapidly receding. In its place stretched boundless starry seas. Starlight cascaded down, and all sound faded into silence. A solitary tall figure stood amid heaven and earth. With his back turned to the brilliant river of stars, his plain white martial robe fluttered without wind. In his grip rested a 3-foot blade. He swept the sword forward. A blade radiance spanning hundreds of millions of star systems erupted violently. Where the light passed, galactic currents severed and space shattered. The dark firmament split cleanly in two. The figure slowly turned. His facial features remained indistinct, yet an indifferent voice echoed through the void. I embarked on the Tao at 16, attained Grandmaster at 26, and became a martial saint at 83. All I comprehend is one word, / Heaven and earth are unkind. They treat all living things as straw dogs. Sages are unkind. They treat all common folk as straw dogs. Heaven and earth uphold laws, binding all life to birth and demise. The Tao is confined within boundaries, limiting the heights mortals may reach. How ridiculous, how sorrowful, how pitiful. I wield this 3-foot blade to challenge the heavens themselves. My will shall be named Heaven / Quit the overbearing monologue. Chun Yi could not help but complain. He admitted this martial saint carried immense aura, yet all he knew to shout was slashing heaven and earth. He claimed he sought to break free from the shackles of heaven and earth, yet forcibly branded his blade intent onto others. A blatant hypocrite. In that regard, he could never compare to Chun Yi. Chun Yi lived with integrity and never bullied the weak. He only drew his blade against the strong. Chun Yi closed his eyes. With a single thought, the starry seas reversed. A giant palm covering the vault of heaven stretched out from nothingness. Faint dragon roars reverberated, as if heaven and earth lamented. The heaven/true intent that the martial saint took pride in appeared insignificant before this palm. His fingers slowly clenched. Crack! The sound of shattering resounded across all realms. The blade radiance capable of cleaving star systems was crushed to dust within the palm. It finally dissolved into scattered stardust, vanishing into the vast starry expanse. At the center of the star sea, the martial saint's phantom trembled, on the verge of collapsing at any moment. That was weaker than I expected. Chun Yi felt a hint of surprise. He had anticipated the heaven/true intent to be far stronger. He never imagined it would crumble at the first clash. If Elder Yi had been present, he would have fumed with rage. What do you mean the heaven/true intent is weak? It is the dragon subduing true intent that far surpasses it. Meanwhile, hundreds of millions of kilometers away within human territory, on a planet similar to Blue Star yet vastly larger, a figure seated inside a grand hall slowly opened his eyes. He was the newly ascended martial saint bearing the title Heaven / He stared toward a distant direction, his sight traversing endless star space. The heaven/true intent I left on the ancestral star has been destroyed. The heaven/martial saint twitched his fingertips, icy killing intent surfacing in his eyes. Years ago, some reckless genius from the ancestral star had dared to contradict him. He had punished her casually. Yet he saw great potential within Su Qingwan and wished to take her as his disciple. He now occupied a high position within the Federation. Even the veteran martial saints remaining on the ancestral star would show him due respect. None would dare destroy his true intent without permission. Now someone dared defy his saintly authority. Foolish. He reached out with a virtual grasp, sending a message across space. Issue my saint decree. Dispatch a martial king to the ancestral star immediately. Discover who destroyed my true intent, investigate their background, and report all findings to me. Also look into Su Qingwan. If the woman has awakened and is willing to embrace my heaven/Tao inheritance, bring her away from the ancestral star to serve under me and campaign across the star regions. If she remains stubborn, there is no need to bring her back. Execute her on the spot. I obey the saint decree. A martial king accepted the order and transformed into a stream of light, speeding toward the ancestral star. The ancestral star has remained dormant for far too long. Naturally, countless ignorant rats have multiplied. In his eyes, martial arts on the ancestral star were withering, lacking powerful successors. The so-called geniuses there were mediocre when judged by the standards of the star regions. He had spared Su Qingwan's life once, a mercy beyond measure. Submit, and she would ascend to great heights in one step. Refuse, and her life and Tao would vanish, her own fault for being obstinate. The scene shifts back to Happiness Residential Quarter. The instant Su Qingwan met Qin Yi's eyes, dizziness washed over her, and she faintly heard a dragon's roar. Next, she witnessed the giant palm covering the sky. Within mere breaths, her body felt lighter, and a shackle entrenched deep within her shattered completely. Su Qingwan's limbs weakened, cold sweat breaking out across her back. She raised a hand dazedly and touched her chest. What is this? Her entire body felt clear and unobstructed. Unprecedented ease swept over her. The heaven/true intent that had tormented her for years was gone. She attempted to circulate her blood qi. Where her cultivation had once met constant obstruction, energy flowed smoothly without hindrance. Even the Marshall Foundation, crippled by the true intent, was slowly recovering. The realm that had lain dormant for years showed faint signs of breaking through. Su Qingluan was utterly astounded. What had just happened? At that moment, Chen Yi opened his eyes. See? I never lied to you. Su Qingluan snapped back to her senses and fixed her gaze firmly on the youth before her. Chen Yi, how exactly did you accomplish this? Martial saints could only be opposed by those of the same realm. Only another true intent could erase an existing one. That meant there was a martial saint backing Chen Yi. What extraordinary connections he possessed. Even the Lord of Jiangxing City was merely a sixth-grade martial artist, inferior to the master of Thunder Martial Hall. How could Chen Yi know a martial saint, and even command a true intent? A secret. Chen Yi pressed a finger to his lips. Su Qingluan fell silent and stared at him for a long time, until Chen Yi began to feel uneasy. After a while, she withdrew her gaze. Su Qingluan stood solemnly and bowed deeply to Chen Yi. No matter how you achieved it, thank you, Chen Yi. Everyone held their own secrets. The method behind his aid mattered little. Su Qingluan judged people based on gratitude. He had helped her, and that fact stood regardless of the process. Seeing her earnest demeanor, Chen Yi grew somewhat awkward. After all, he had barely done anything. Elder Yi deserved most of the credit. Chen Yi gently pushed her back onto the sofa. It was nothing. Consider it repayment for letting me stay at your place. Hearing those words, Su Qingluan's expression turned complicated. No one could have guessed that an act of casual compassion a few days prior would bring her such immense fortune. Regardless, you saved me. I shall remember this favor. From now on, ask anything within my power, and I will never refuse. Su Qingluan spoke earnestly. She meant every word. Is that so? Chen Yi's eyes twinkled. Anything at all? Absolutely. Su Qingluan affirmed. Even if Chen Yi demanded she kill someone at this moment, she would comply. Staring at Su Qingluan's exquisite features, Chen Yi leaned forward and lowered his voice deliberately. What if I asked for something extremely demanding? You. Su Qingluan instantly understood his implication. Yet she gritted her teeth and finally replied. I agree. No matter how demanding it may be. Chen Yi leaned closer, whispering beside her ear with a playful tone. Teacher Su is quite bold. Are you not afraid I will make a request you regret forever? Su Qingluan's cheeks flushed red, her heart pounding wildly. I will not regret it. Come to think of it, she was the one who benefited most. Even if Chen Yi's physical aptitude was lacking, the backing of a martial saint alone made him worthy of her trust. Not to mention his handsome features that stirred her thoughts. Slap. Su Qingluan chided herself mentally. Su Qingluan, you have lost your way. Countless suitors had once sought your attention, yet you ignored them all. Now your thoughts wander toward a young man, your own student no less. It was utterly absurd. And yet, he truly was handsome, perfectly matching her ideal type. Perhaps there was no harm in pursuing a connection with someone younger. Teacher Su, are you still there? Chen Yi watched Su Qingluan zone out and waved a hand in front of her face. I agree. She jolted in surprise. Chen Yi looked confused. Agree to what? I have not yet stated my request. Then speak your mind. Su Qingluan had already steeled herself to accept any demand. Chen Yi met her eyes and spoke sincerely. Since you will accept anything, Teacher Su, be my girlfriend. Will you? Huh? Only your girlfriend. Su Qingluan blurted out instinctively. What else did you imagine? Chen Yi sighed helplessly. He wanted to take things slowly. Could she not be a little more patient? I accept. Su Qingluan's face burned crimson. It was over. She had fallen for him. Chen Yi smiled faintly. Another step of his plan succeeded. Well then, Qingluan, it is quite late. We ought to rest. Su Qingluan's cheeks blazed hot. She bowed her head low, her eyelashes trembling gently. All right. Chen Yi carefully wrapped an arm around her shoulders, and Su Qingluan naturally leaned into his embrace. With a beauty nestled in his arms, the night breeze carried a quiet warmth. The next morning, when Chen Yi woke up on the sofa, he found the spot beside him empty. He lifted his head and saw the bedroom door tightly shut. Su Qingluan had retreated inside at some point during the night. Chen Yi rose lazily, still able to catch her faint scent lingering on his clothes. A smile tugged at his lips as he walked toward the bedroom door. Knock, knock, knock. Teacher Su, it is time to head to school. No response came from within for a long while. Inside the bedroom, Su Qingluan curled up tightly beneath her quilt, her whole body burning hot. She wanted nothing more than to vanish into thin air. Last night she had acted far too impulsively. How had she agreed to his confession? She had even remained on the sofa beside him through the night. It was far too embarrassing. You head to school first. I will tidy up and follow shortly. Hearing the awkwardness in her voice, Chen-yi did not press her. Very well. I am leaving now. Travel safely. Qingwan, stop talking. 30 minutes later, Jiangxing No. 1 High School. The first class of the day was Su Qingwan's theoretical martial arts lecture. The bell rang, and the whole class sat neatly in place, yet the podium remained empty. Why is Teacher Su absent again? Could something have happened? That seems odd. Teacher Su is never late. 2 minutes passed before Su Qingwan stepped through the doorway. Stop all that chatter. I arrived a few minutes late, and your class is already the noisiest. She walked into the classroom with a stern expression. Stepping onto the podium, Su Qingwan lowered her head to open her textbook, suppressing the fluster in her heart. Turn to page 32. Today we will discuss blood chi shackles and breakthrough essentials for martial artists. She avoided lifting her gaze the entire lesson, terrified of meeting Chen-yi's eyes. The 45-minute lecture felt endless. Finally, the dismissal bell rang. Su Qingwan closed her textbook instantly in relief. Class dismissed. Before the words fully faded, she turned and hurried away, fleeing the classroom. Only after her figure vanished beyond the doorway did whispers break out among the students. Hey, has anyone noticed? Teacher Su is acting strangely today. Now that you mention it, you are right. Yeah, I saw it too. Confusion spread through the class. Teacher Su barely lifted her head, kept staring at her textbook, and her cheeks stayed flushed. She seemed inexplicably flustered. The practical combat lesson that day also featured sparring against demon beasts. Compared to their first session, every student performed noticeably better. Inside the training grounds, a black-claw wolf lowered its body, bearing stinking fangs. Its sharp claws carved deep grooves across the ground. Wang Gang stood nearby, watching intently and offering constant guidance. Steady your stance. Do not let its aura disrupt your rhythm. Circulate your blood chi properly, and dodge sideways with greater speed. A low roar erupted as the wolf pounced forward, waves of foul wind sweeping outward. Unlike their initial panic, the students no longer scattered in fright. Each twisted and shifted using the movement techniques they had practiced. One boy moved with agile footwork, adjusting his position continuously to narrowly evade the wolf's slashing attacks. The wolf's claws grazed his clothing time and again, never managing to land a hit. He could only barely defend himself and failed to spot the wolf's weaknesses. Even so, a rare look of approval appeared on Wang Gang's face as he watched. He called out his assessment loudly. Well done. You can evade the Black-Claw Wolf's consecutive strikes relying purely on movement. That is tremendous progress. Thank you, teacher. I will keep working hard. The boy retreated from the training area once his stamina ran dry. Chun-yi watched on with little interest. This was not the same Black-Claw Wolf from yesterday. The previous one had already been dealt with. One noteworthy change. The upper limit of his strength stat had increased. While the other students fought against the demon beast, he took the chance to assume Jia Hao's identity and frantically performed push-ups on the ground. Strength, 1.21-1.3. The stat now tracked to 2 decimal places instead of 3. If he trained diligently, he could raise his strength to 2.0 within 10 days. Once that day arrived, he smiled to himself. The broken engagement? The Qin clan? He would settle scores with all of them. He sat there letting out a low, sinister chuckle. Several students waiting nearby witnessed the scene and edged away from Chun-yi in disdain. Mommy, who is that? A useless boy, sweetie. Look at Chun-yi laughing to himself. I wonder what he finds so amusing. Does he think a few push-ups make him impressive? He has a resilient temperament. Even with such poor talent, he remains cheerful every day. He has probably given up hope entirely, seeking small comforts from trivial training. At the same time, 2 figures in the distance kept their eyes fixed on Chun-yi. Boss, should we go provoke him? One of Zhao Kuan's followers asked. Wait and see. Zhao Kuan's expression was filled with uncertainty. He had sensed something off about Chun-yi lately. His other follower had yet to fully recover, remaining in a dazed state. Only earlier that morning had he regained enough awareness to walk. Zhao Kuan had told his father Zhao Wujia about the incident. Zhao Wujia instructed him to keep observing, claiming Chun-yi might be hiding some secret. He also ordered Zhao Kuan to avoid picking fights with Chun-yi for the time being. Chun-yi had already been expelled from the Qin clan. Humiliating him would serve little purpose. Competition for resources between Thunder Martial Hall and the Qin clan had reached a boiling point. Everyone waited for the passing of the old Qin patriarch. Once news of his death spread, Zhao Wujia intended to ally with other martial clans in Jiangcheng to carve up the Qin clan's territory. Zhao Kuan stared at Chun-yi for a while longer before turning to his follower. Leave him alone for now. Focus on preparing for the martial tournament. My father mentioned an important figure will arrive in Jiangcheng to watch the tournament this time. The followers' eyes lit up in shock. An important person? Would a municipal tournament draw such an influential guest? In previous years, only the city lord and leaders of the Martial Affairs Bureau attended the Jiangcheng Martial Tournament. The event was merely city level. Whoever Zhao Wujie referred to as an important figure must possess extraordinary standing. Zhao Kuan's expression turned solemn. My father did not reveal many details, only sharing a fragment of information. He is a high-ranking official from the Federal Martial Arts General Academy, traveling to scout talented martial artists across the region. Those words made the follower gasp in awe. The Federal Martial Arts General Academy. It stood as the supreme institution within humanity's martial arts system, towering above all other academies. It was the sacred destination countless martial geniuses dreamed of entering. Even ordinary patrol officers dispatched from there were at minimum 8th-grade grandmasters. Grandmasters were an exceedingly rare sight across the entire Jiangnan province. Good heavens! A senior figure from the General Academy coming to Jiangcheng. Does that mean geniuses who deliver outstanding performances in the tournament could catch the elder's eye and receive an offer of direct admission? The follower grew extremely excited, his gaze burning with ambition. Zhao Kuan clenched his fist, ambition shining brightly in his eyes. Precisely. If you achieve stunning results in the tournament, even a single glance from that elder could shave a decade off your path of cultivation. Yet he loosened his grip soon after and sighed helplessly. That opportunity is beyond us. I have only opened 81 apertures. While I count as a genius within Jiangcheng, I cannot compare to the top talents across Jiangnan province. Zhao Kuan's greatest strength was his clear self-awareness. So, boss, what's your plan? His subordinate looked on in confusion. Zhao Kuan smiled subtly. I may lack sufficient talent, but someone else has it. Have you forgotten? Lin Ruoxue from the Lin clan has opened 103 apertures. A peerless genius with over 100 apertures, surpassing every young warrior in Jiangcheng. Realization washed over the subordinate. Boss, you mean, the influential elder from the main institute will definitely set his sights on Lin Ruoxue? Exactly, Zhao Kuan nodded. Once Lin Ruoxue catches the eye of that grand elder from the main institute and rises to extraordinary heights, the resources and connections she will command are beyond our imagination. A confident look crossed his face. If I cannot seize the opportunity myself, I will win over the person who can. I will win Lin Ruoxue's heart during this tournament and make her my girlfriend. When she soars to greatness, I will naturally rise alongside her, using her ties to gain access to the Federal Martial Arts Main Institute. That was Zhao Kuan's scheme. Attach himself to a powerful ally and reap the rewards effortlessly. The subordinate's eyes lit up with admiration. Brilliant plan, boss. Once Lin Ruoxue gains the Main Institute's favor, no one in Jiangcheng will dare cross us. You learn quickly. Zhao Kuan nodded in satisfaction. Training came to an end. Chun Yi walked out of the school gates. Su Qingwan was nowhere to be seen. She had likely headed home early. He shook his head helplessly. At Happiness Estate, Su Qingwan paced anxiously inside her room, running her hands through her hair. I've lost my mind. I must have lost my mind last night. She muttered quietly, her mind flooded with tender memories from the previous evening. She had even steeled herself to follow wherever he led. The more she thought about it, the hotter her cheeks burned with embarrassment. How did I agree to this so carelessly? She stamped her foot in frustration. A knock sounded at the door. Su Qingwan froze. Chun Yi had returned. It was really him. Her heart began to race. Biting her lip, she shuffled toward the entrance. Wait a moment. Su Qingwan took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. Calm down, Su Qingwan. You once dared to charge at a martial saint with a blade. Why be nervous over this young man? She tried to reassure herself inwardly. Composing herself, she pulled open the door. What were you up to, Qingwan? You took so long. Were you hiding away doing something secret? Chun Yi wore a meaningful grin. Don't call me Qingwan. Goosebumps rose across Su Qingwan's skin. The nickname felt far too intimate. Chun Yi looked displeased. Why shouldn't I? You agreed to be my girlfriend last night. Should I keep calling you Teacher Su? That would make things feel distant, wouldn't it? Su Qingwan fell silent, unable to find a retort. It was true. She had given him her word the night before. She straightened her posture, trying to maintain her demeanor as a teacher. Address me as your teacher when we are outside. And, not at home, not yet. She had not grown accustomed to their sudden shift into a romantic relationship. Chun Yi asked, when will I be allowed to call you that? Once I've adjusted. Su Qingwan shot him a glare. Chun-Yi gazed at her flushed cheeks and chuckled softly. So you avoided me all day at school just tangled up over this? That's none of your business. Having her thoughts laid bare, Su Qingwan turned and stormed over to the sofa. Chun-Yi closed the door and sat beside her. Very well, I will hold off for now. Su Qingwan huffed. Behave yourself at school. Don't pull any strange stunts, and make sure no one figures out our relationship. I understand. Chun-Yi nodded. He quite liked this arrangement. After dinner, bedtime arrived, and Su Qingwan grew troubled. Chun-Yi insisted on sharing the same bedroom. She refused outright. Absolutely not. Chun-Yi would not back down. We're dating now. There's no need to keep such strict boundaries. I still haven't adjusted. Su Qingwan met his gaze. I only agreed to be your girlfriend, not to share a room with you. She worried that sharing a bedroom would quickly lead to more. She could guess exactly what Chun-Yi was hoping for. Chun-Yi spread his hands. Yet you didn't pull away last night. You leaned into my embrace of your own accord. His words left Su Qingwan speechless, her face burning crimson. That was a special circumstance. I wasn't thinking clearly. Fine, then I'm not thinking clearly either. Chun-Yi acted stubbornly. I refuse to sleep on the sofa. You decide what to do. He flopped down onto the large bed and breathed in the faint fragrance lingering on the bedding. You. Su Qingwan was stunned. How could someone be so shameless? Still, she could not drive Chun-Yi out. She could not bring herself to repay kindness with cruelty. After much hesitation, she reluctantly conceded. One rule, you must keep your distance. If you overstep any boundaries, I won't speak to you ever again. Chun-Yi nodded immediately. Rest assured, I will stay well behaved. The bed was spacious enough, yet lying side by side left them very close to one another. Su Qingwan's entire body tensed. She lay flat on her back, not daring to breathe too heavily. Chun-Yi, by contrast, was completely at ease. He turned his head to look at her back. Why are you so tense? I promised I wouldn't do anything. I'm not. Su Qingwan insisted. Chun-Yi let out a quiet laugh and said no more. Silence settled over the room. Su Qingwan stared at the wall with her back toward him and sighed quietly. She had truly gotten wrapped up in this young man. Though, this kind of quiet life isn't half bad. No schemes, no competition, no plots. Su Qingwan cherished this peace. But the tranquility did not last long. Her expression darkened, and she spoke sharply. Chun-Yi, keep your hand to yourself. Chun-Yi closed his eyes and pretended ignorance, his hand resting lightly on her waist. It's just resting there. It's not bothering anyone. He had to admit, her waist felt soft and slender beneath his palm. Su Qingwan pried his hand away, only for him to place it back again moments later. They continued this back and forth well into the midnight hours. Eventually, Su Qingwan surrendered, too worn out to keep pushing his hand away. Exhaustion overtook them both, and they drifted off to sleep. Days slipped by peacefully. When your routine repeats day after day, time passes swiftly. 10 days had come and gone in the blink of an eye. Chun-Yi had reached his second growth cycle. Over these 10 days, he had raised his strength to 2.0. 10 days have elapsed. Strength will now be squared. Name, Chun-Yi. Bone age, 18 vital energy, 0 strength, 2-4 combat power, 5 evaluation. Above average among ordinary fighters. Chun-Yi stared excitedly at his status panel. For points of strength, even without access to martial arts techniques, he ranked solidly in the upper tier of young warriors across Jiangqing. During the placement examinations, all students' recorded strength values were boosted by vital energy. Chun-Yi achieved 4 points without relying on vital energy at all. The gap between them was plain to see. He clenched his fist, feeling the surging power within him. This represented far more than raw physical strength. It meant his overall physical constitution had vastly improved. Only a robust body could withstand greater power. He threw a casual punch, and a clear whoosh of displaced air cut through the room. Chun-Yi walked over to the windowsill and gently squeezed the marble countertop between 2 fingers. Crack. Spiderweb cracks spread outward instantly. When he lifted his hand, the stone at the point of contact had crumbled into fine powder. His current strength equated to at least 500 kilograms of force. What would happen if I channeled the subdued dragon intent into an attack? A thought suddenly crossed his mind. He possessed no vital energy, so he would compensate with martial intent. Old Yi had told him that martial intent was not bound to vital energy. It was the embodiment of a warrior's own will. With that thought, Chun-Yi closed his eyes and entered a strange state of mind. His 360 apertures stood wide open, granting him peerless insight. He had mastered this intent within 10 days, so weaving it into his strikes came naturally. Dragons stand as peerless prodigies, embodiments of momentum, bearers of destiny. I am no prodigy, no tide of fate, no chosen one. Yet in this life, I seek only to grasp the meaning of one word, subdue. What shall I subdue? That being is known as the dragon. Golden light blazed in Chun Yi's eyes. He slowly stretched out his palm and grasped forward. Boom! A deafening detonation erupted, akin to thunder striking the earth. Immediately after, a clear dragon's roar echoed across the sky. The entire residential building shook violently, as if an earthquake had struck. Large sections of the living room floor caved in, cracks snaking across every floorboard. Load-bearing pillars in the corners split open, and the solid marble windowsill shattered completely into rubble. Su Qingwan jolted awake from her sleep, trembling. Has a martial saint attacked? Outside the complex, Old Yi sitting in the security booth opened his eyes. Young man, you have no sense of restraint. Practicing a heavenly rank martial skill inside a residential building? Do you have no regard for the lives of everyone else? Old Yi lifted a single finger. The dragon's roar cut off abruptly. An invisible domain enveloped all of Happiness Estate. The swaying building steadied at once. The power surge triggered every light in the building to flicker on. What's happening? Is it an earthquake? Was that an explosion? The noise was deafening. Not an explosion. Didn't you hear that dragon roar? Clearly warriors are fighting nearby. Run for safety. Rapid footsteps echoed through the stairwells. Every resident in the building had been woken. They called out to one another from their windows, overcome with panic. A crowd quickly gathered on the ground floor. Yet after waiting for a long time, no further disturbances came. Everyone scratched their heads in confusion. It stopped. How strange, the fight ended so quickly. Where did these warriors come from? Battling in a residential zone. Doesn't the Federation have laws against this? Come now. Those rules only apply to low-ranking warriors. The powerful elite hold themselves above such regulations. Why would they care about ordinary people's lives? The crowd continued to debate among themselves. When no more tremors followed, they relaxed and filed back into the stairwells. In this era, innocent civilians often suffered from the aftershocks of battles between warriors. Skirmishes between ordinary warriors were manageable, but clashes between high-ranking fighters came down to pure luck for anyone caught nearby. Inside Su Qingwan's apartment, she stared blankly at the wreckage. Who am I? Where am I? Was this still her home? Chun Yi's single strike had turned a fully furnished apartment into a demolished shell. Chun Yi, what have you done? Su Qingwan's brows furrowed in anger as she glared at the culprit. She had been asleep when the thunderous blast shook the room. The wave of martial intent she sensed had reminded her of a martial saint, terrifying her awake. Chun Yi stood awkwardly in place. He had not anticipated such overwhelming destructive power. He only held 4 points of strength, not even a first-rank warrior. He ought to be capable of nothing more than crushing stone, yet he had nearly collapsed an entire apartment block. A voice suddenly sounded beside his ear. You reckless boy, calm yourself. What were you thinking causing chaos in the building in the middle of the night? If I hadn't intervened, this tower would have collapsed, and you would be front-page news tomorrow. It was Old Yi, transmitting his voice using vital energy. Did all of this come from you? Su Qingwan processed the scene and stared at Chun Yi in disbelief. Despite the ruined home, her primary concern was Chun Yi. Yes. Chun Yi nodded and admitted it. Su Qingwan's eyes widened. How did you manage this? It was common knowledge that spirit-leaking bodies could not cultivate vital energy. Yet the power she had witnessed would challenge even a first-rank bone-refining warrior. Chun Yi replied, Nothing special. I simply possess immense physical strength. Su Qingwan realized a staggering truth. Chun Yi's earlier claim about slaying a martial saint might not have been idle boasting. The thought struck her as utterly absurd. Does that mean I really owe him deference? She looked at the young man standing before her. He was wrapped in layers of mystery. The closer she drew, the less clearly she could see him. How many secrets are you hiding? Su Qingwan's expression turned complicated. Chun Yi said, It was merely a stroke of luck. Su Qingwan sighed. Very well. You have your secrets, and I will not press you for them. But first, are you going to repair my home? Chun Yi spread his hands. I have no money to offer. Only myself. I can work to pay off the damages if you wish. You're trying to take advantage of the situation. Su Qingwan grew even more exasperated. We can settle it tomorrow at the tournament. I'll claim first place, then cover all the repair costs, Chun Yi said casually. Bold words. Su Qingwan rolled her eyes. Though she mocked him, she could not deny the truth. Judging purely by the destructive force he had displayed, he stood among the tournament's top contenders. There are countless talented participants. Zhao Kuan, Lin Ruoxue, and young warriors from all of Jiangxing's martial clans will compete. Envoys from the main institute will also attend. You bear a spirit, leaking body with zero vital energy. Your current strength defies common sense. I may choose not to question it, but others will not. What will you do if they accuse you of cheating? What will I do? Chun-Yi let out a cold laugh. The answer was simple: rely on backing. Everyone knew the monkey sage was taught by Patriarch Bodhi, yet who dared to openly accuse him? Unleashing the subdued dragon intent was equivalent to revealing his hand to everyone. It told them plainly that a martial saint stood behind him. It was up to them whether they dared to act against him. If they took the risk, they might gain an opportunity for their younger generation. But if they guessed wrong, a martial saint lived in seclusion, minding his own affairs. If they initiated conflict against his disciple, they would be the ones picking a fight. Saintly power brooked no insult. Anyone who struck first had to accept the consequences of facing the saint's wrath. Chun-Yi stated, I am not afraid of them stirring up trouble. I only fear they will not dare to try. Fine, you are confident. Su Qingluan sighed helplessly. So what do we do now? Where will we stay? We can book a hotel room for the night, he suggested casually. Veins bulged on Su Qingluan's forehead when she heard this. Had he deliberately wrecked the apartment to force this outcome? There was nothing she could do. The two spent the night at a hotel. Su Qingluan endured Chun-Yi's constant attempts to draw closer throughout the evening. The next dawn broke softly. Today was an important day, one of great significance for every young warrior in Jiangxing. The Wilderness Martial Tournament. It was the second most prestigious competition, only overshadowed by the 100-day martial examination. In past years, high-ranking officials from the Martial Affairs Bureau and the City Lord would come to watch the matches. Standout competitors could receive direct admission offers to elite academies. That alone drew countless students to participate. On top of that, the tournament rewards were incredibly generous. The top 3 finishers would receive unlimited cultivation resources from the Martial Affairs Bureau until they reached 3rd-rank warrior status. As for federal credits, they were merely numbers. Funding could be provided in unlimited quantities. Among high-ranking warriors, currency rarely traded hands. The true valuable commodities were cultivation materials, pills, martial arts techniques, personal guidance from masters, treasures money could not buy. Warriors could only attract investment by demonstrating their potential. How much support they gained depended entirely on their strength. Number 1 High School Training Ground. When Chun-Yi arrived, the venue was already packed with people. Young competitors from all 16 martial arts high schools across Jiangxing had gathered. All wore neat martial arts uniforms, brimming with youthful vigor. Conversation buzzed nonstop across the grounds. Teachers from every school and media reporters wandered around the perimeter, lending a lively atmosphere. The scale this year is enormous. Word has it an important dignitary will be present. It's a shame teams are randomly assigned. We can't stick with our schoolmates. It all comes down to luck. Draw strong teammates and you thrive. Draw weak ones and you're finished before you start. Don't be so sure. Personal strength still matters most. Several students stood together, speaking in hushed tones. Who do you think will take the championship? Lin Ruoxue without a doubt. She's Jiangxing's top young genius. She's already mid-first, rank advancing into the flesh-refining stage. She'll outmatch everyone by a wide margin. I'm more optimistic about Zhao Cohen. No one has seen Lin Ruoxue fight. I witnessed him block a beast's claw strike with his bare body without injury. Shun Hao and Qin Lan from number 2 high school cannot be overlooked either. Shun Hao's splitting mountain fist strikes with overwhelming power, while Qin Lan can hit targets 100 paces away with her bow. Their long and short range synergy gives them a massive advantage in wilderness terrain.